Well, hey there, and good evening. Hope you guys are ready to have a good time together tonight. I'm again on the road, and so unfortunately, this hotel that I'm at today doesn't have great Wi-Fi signal from where I'm at. So hopefully, we're able to stay connected, and there's no disconnect happening. When we're trying to load something, it might be a little bit slow, but I hope not. Where are you guys watching from? I'm in Springfield, Missouri. I got my Springfield shirt on today. I'm in Springfield, Missouri, because I'm leading a service project for our denomination tomorrow here. And so excited to be here, excited to see what God's going to do, but excited to be with us tonight. So let me know where we watch from. We have Tammy who's watching from Ontario, Canada. Tina's from Wisconsin D, Long Island, New York. We have Jason Chandler all the way from Barbados. Thank you, Jason, for tuning in. Blue Aqua from Texas. Thank you for tuning in. We have somebody from North Carolina, Pittsburgh, Florida, another Ontario. This is great. New Haven, Missouri, Indiana, another Florida, New Jersey, Orlando, Arkansas, Oregon, Scotland, Houston, Texas, Portland, Oregon, a member of the Feller family. We have North Dakota in here, Great Michigan. We have South Alabama. Is that on the ocean? Is that what South Alabama is? Is South Alabama on the ocean? We have Columbus, Georgia, and we have regular Georgia. We have North Carolina. So just welcome all of you guys. Thank you for joining us live tonight. And I can't wait to get into the conversation that we are going to be getting into today. And as you know, like maybe a lot of stuff was happening today, or maybe nothing at all was happening. We're going to sort of unpack that together and figure out, in the case of Brian Laundrie, in the case of Gabby Petito today, as they're searching for Brian Laundrie, when the police went out, they had rifles attached to them. They put up the police tape. Was there anything significant going on or not? And I don't know the answer. They acted like, no, we're just doing some training. And I don't know, like, who does training? Like, who does training in the middle of an investigation for a wanted fugitive at a potential scene where a body may be? Like, I didn't understand that part of it. And so maybe you guys can help me understand a little bit more of that as well. And I'm certainly sure that there's a lot more than just that going on as well. Thank you guys. Still typing in where you're tuning in from. Another thing that you can do that will be really helpful, if you don't mind, and if you guys can just hit the like button on the video. It's a small thing to do. It shoots us out into the YouTube algorithm. It lets everybody know that it's not watching this video, that this is a video worth watching. And so if you don't mind, hit the like button on the video. Kathy, you say happy Friday, everyone. Happy Friday to you, Kathy. Thank you so much for the super chat. Way to get us started. And just a special welcome to everybody, but also especially the people who are part of the Feller fam. We're building a great community around really a lot of different issues, but most notably an issue that we're all attacking together is this idea of finding justice for Gabby. And so just really excited about that. Marlena says that they caught a detective or a fugitive today. And we're going to talk a little bit about that because I think they thought maybe Brian Laundrie was hanging out in that place. And Ali M, thank you so much for the super chat. You say, good evening, Tyler. I hope you are well and that your travels are all safe. And as you continue to work away from here and then are on here at night. I know. Thank you so much for saying that, Ali. And I want to make sure that I'm being a good steward, or, handling with responsibility what I feel like God's doing, which is building a community of people here. And so that's what I'm doing here. Thank you for the super chat. Thank you for being a part of our channel too. I wanted to show you guys, just as I was going through Brian Inton's Twitter today and just looking at some of the stuff, and I was sort of watching it as an unpacked as I was doing a little bit of traveling today. I was listening to Hey JB and hearing him talk about it. And he was like, guys, I'm going to tell you, we got a lot to talk about and we got nothing to talk about at the same time. And so I found that interesting. But whenever I look at this, he was saying the activity at the Carlton Reserve we noticed is in the Northport side. And so there's something that keeps drawing them back to the Northport side. There's something that continues to draw the police officers from Northport, the FBI. It just continues to draw people there. And I find that incredibly interesting. Do they have evidence of remains? I'm going to put that as a poll question, actually. Like, I'm going to say, I got to end the current poll. Thank you guys for voting on the poll. Really, when you vote on a poll, me kind of get an idea of what you're thinking about certain topics. I want to shout out Robert really fast. Robert Grammer, thank you. You're watching from West Kelowna. Kelowna, is that how you say that? Kelowna or Kelowna, British Columbia. Thank you so much for tuning in from Canada and being a part of our stream tonight. I'm going to put in the poll just a question. Do you think or I'm going to say, what do you think they found in the reserve? And the answers are going to be number one, nothing. Number two, remains. I'm going to say human remains. I'm going to say Brian's remains. And then I'm going to say evidence that Brian may have been nearby. And what I mean by that, uh, when I say that Brian may have been near, what I mean by that is like maybe they found like a water bottle or something that was possibly his. Joy, thank you for the super chat. Did you receive my email with the legal stuff? And yes, they caught another fugitive. Joy's our resident attorney who tunes in and occasionally calls in and helps handle some questions for us. Yeah, Joy, I did get the legal email from you. I appreciate it so much. Thank you so much for sending that stuff over. And just some other things I was thinking about from a legal perspective about subpoenas and grand juries and some of that process. And I don't know if you're up to speed on all of that in this particular case. And then another question I have, like, is Stephen Bertolino, if he's not registered for the bar in Florida, then how is he helping? And I don't know. There's like I have some legal questions, I think. So if you're able to call in today, that would be really great. Joy, if you happen to be around, or email me right now and I'll send you the link, and maybe we can start off by answering some of those questions. That would be great. Kareen, thank you for the super chat. I'm going to take a look at this poll. We have four options. What do you think they found in the reserve? 51% of you are saying nothing. 7% of you are saying human remains. 3%, only 3% of you so far are saying Brian's remains, and then 38% that Brian may have been nearby. And so continue, if you guys don't mind, to answer in that poll. We have about 500 votes in it. If we can get to 1,000, if we can get to 1,000 votes, 1,000's a really good polling number. It allows you to have a more accurate sort of like sense of what's happening. And so, if you guys don't mind, just continue to vote. But it's looking like most of you are thinking nothing's out there. Don't you think it's a little bit strange, though, that they would be conducting a a training event out there? They had to have found something. I know they found another fugitive, but like they weren't out there looking for that other fugitive, were they? Heidi, thank you so much for joining the Feller fam today. You join a great group of people, and I hope today's going to be another day where we are able to cross a threshold to get another emoji. I already have ideas of what another emoji could be. Pat's oh, excuse me for sneezing. Pat says absolutely strange. Janet says definitely odd. Melissa, you're saying they got some type of evidence out there. They wouldn't keep going back and wasting. They said it's costing $200,000 a day, right? Like, I'm just saying, they're spending $200,000 a day. There has to be something out there. Like, I don't think they'd be wasting that level of resources if there wasn't anything out there. I don't know what it is. I don't think it's nothing. Although 54% think it's nothing. I don't know if it's nothing. I think if I lean towards any of the poll responses, it would have been evidence that Brian may have been there. In fact, I have an article I wanted to show you guys. 6 signs that Brian is alive. And I want to get your feedback on it. It's kind of an older article, but all the stuff is definitely still true. So let's see if it's going to load. 6 signs that Brian may still be alive. 6 signs Brian may be alive from discarded energy drinks Spotify playlist. So here's one thing. Alleged signs at campsites, a discarded Monster Energy drink can, and changes to Spotify playlist are signs that he could be alive. And so this is that family that took, they were camping at the same time at Fort DeSoto on September 6th, 7th, and 8th, the same the Laundrie family was. And they took this photo, and they realized when they got home that the campsite directly next to them likely was that of the Laundrie household. And then sure enough, when they went back and looked at their photos, There, Brian Laundrie is walking around in the background, and then Dog the Bounty Hunter found this thing, which isn't necessarily an indication that this is an energy drink that came from Brian Laundrie, but there's reason to believe and suspect that this is an energy drink from Brian Laundrie. Some of the other things that happened as people started to dive into it is that we noticed he was making some changes on his Spotify playlist. And so I found that really interesting. The Nomadic Static playlist had some changing going on. And I know that some of this is older news or older thoughts, but I wanted to think about it. Like, I'm gonna ask the question because I asked it in the pre-poll, but I want to ask the question to you. Do you think do you think Brian's alive? Every single day that we're further away from some of these stories coming out, from some of what we know, it's like a day we're further along the line of whether or not we think Brian is alive. So do you think Brian is alive? And I'm gonna ask my community if you guys don't mind answering that. Lacey, thank you so much for that super sticker. Thank you for kicking us off in that way. Kim, you say if one of the answers would have been evidence in general, not necessarily Brian being there, but just evidence, I would have chosen that. So that's a good answer, Kim. Like, well, is there evidence in general? I think that's sort of the answer that I would lean towards. Maybe I worded it a little bit differently, but is there evidence that something was out there and it could possibly somehow belong to Brian, and they keep doubling down on it? So Trucker T, thank you for the super chat. Tyler, I believe the getaway plan for Brian was to walk from the Northport side to the Venice side. Someone was paid to supply Brian Laundrie and move and drive him to a safe house. So, yes, 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 yes. I think that's a great theory that many people are talking about. Lacey, thank you. You upgraded your membership today. Thank you for doing that. Trucker T, what you're saying, I'm not saying it's 100% fact, but I'm saying there's a lot of people that are saying that. That's a possibility. He's in a safe house. The attorney knows where he's at. They're watching out for him. It only makes sense at this point because the likelihood of someone his age, his demeanor, continuing to be out in the wilderness, it just increases in my mind. It continues to de-escalate likelihood. So I totally think so. Po Boy says some people think the Laundries have super spy abilities. Whatever happened was not complicated. I mean, that that really could be true as well. I mean, like, it totally could be really a possibility as well. I want to talk about Ethan Waters as well. I see your comment on there, Trudy. I'm waiting a bit. I just sent Joy the link, and so I think Joy's going to call in, and I have some attorney questions that I want to ask her that were coming up in my mind today, in my mind yesterday, about some of what we were talking about when it involves what role is Stephen Bertolino playing, because exactly what we just talked about. At this point, the likelihood of him being out in the wilderness is very small. I don't know why they keep searching in the Carlton Reserve, but for whatever reason, many people think he's in the Carlton Reserve, or there's remains there. There's evidence that he was there. And so they continue to go back and, try to conjure up something that may lead to his body. But the alternative to that would be he's living in the wilderness by himself, or he's in a safe house somewhere, or he's in a foreign country. So there's sort of like four possible different options in my mind that are out there. And as we're just digesting it together, I want to walk through some of the probabilities or realities of those situations. So Brian Hinton today was at the Carlton Reserve, and they were trying to get information from reporters and other reporters. Like he works for News Nation, but he's trying to talk to WFLA about some of their insight. They didn't really have any. They contacted the police, as you can say. They said, was there anything significant? Because you're out here with rifles. And they're like, oh, nothing abnormal. And they're like, well, we haven't seen you out here with rifles before. So why are you out here? Oh, we're just doing a training event. You're doing a training event with rifles in an area that you guys have been searching was closed off to the public, where there's potentially a missing person that's a fugitive at the federal level. So it seems like there might be more going on than what they're saying. However, should we take them at face value? Ikami dude, thank you so much for the super chat. You say, in my opinion, they will shred that area looking for and gathering evidence that he was there, which will also work to incriminate or exonerate the parents. It could be that they're trying to find something to solidify the parents' situation, the parents' involvement, because if they're able to bring the parents in for a level of questioning and they're able to go that route with him, it could lead to greater breakthrough on finding where Brian's at. So it definitely could be. I'm going to turn the chat. The chat's going really fast, and one of our mods asked me if I could turn it to subscriber only mode. So I'm going to turn it to subscriber only mode. It's a good reminder if you haven't done so already, like the video if you guys don't mind, and hit the subscribe button if you haven't subscribed to the channel. If you do that, it's a huge help. I mean, it helps out so much, and you get to be part of an awesome community. I mean, who wouldn't want to be a part of our community that God's building here with us as we work together to find justice for Gabby, as we put our heads together thinking about lots of different things. Just So Sweet says this: the thoughts on the Stan text thing being Brian accidentally using Gabby's phone. I thought about this in this way. I've been thinking about this text, obviously, since I've been investigating or thinking about this case, but this text in particular, in the way that you're saying, I thought about it like this. You're saying accidentally using Gabby's phone and mistaking mom for his, and was referring to Bertolino's friend Stan Anderson in Mexico. I thought that today too, because I was seeing some of that information, some of that intel rise in, and I thought, my goodness, they could have similar phones or whatever. They may even have the same background on their phones, or he might have been so used to having her phone that it was like second nature just to be on her phone, because he might have been on her phone as much as he was on his own phone. They might have shared a phone. Who knows? I don't know the situation, but I thought about that. It's like, could be more going on about the Stan thing. We were saying send the authorities now. A lot of people really felt like that's not a high likelihood, but Just So Sweet what you're saying, it's becoming maybe a reality on that, because I found some information out about that Stan Anderson guy. And Gavis was talking about that Stan Anderson guy yesterday too. They're really, they found like 4 different Stan Andersons that could be potentially that guy. So, and thank you for the super chat. Jenner Posh, thank you so much for the super sticker. Means so much that you'd send that in. Yeah, Kim tagged me in a tweet, and I'll show you. I'll just go to my notifications on Twitter, and maybe I can go down and see them from when Kim sent it to me earlier. So Kim tagged me in this earlier, and the tweet, it's very interesting. Justine, thank you so much for the super chat. You say, "Hi Tyler, the investigation seems to be taking so long. Can I ask you a question? Will you marry Justine? Adam, will you marry Justine? Adam, will you marry Justine? If not, Tyler, will you marry me?" I haven't met you, so I can't answer that. But if you're dating Adam, you should make that happen. MCon Black, thank you for becoming a YouTube member. Glinda, thank you for the super chat. Maybe they're just trying to rack up that bill that the Laundries will eventually be responsible for. That's funny. I really don't think that's what they're doing, but that's funny to say that. Tyler, has Gavas heard from his friend Chan? I've been working, literally, I spent the whole morning working, and then I drove, and then I spent the whole evening working, and now I'm on here with you. So I haven't had a great opportunity to talk to Gavas or really much of anyone today. I've responded to a couple emails and was mainly dealing with some work stuff. So I don't know, but I assume if I hadn't heard from him, that he wouldn't have heard from him. Mary B, thank you for becoming a member. You joined Heidi so far today. That's a part of the Feller fam. You have access to great emojis. As a producer, I'm going to be having a special live stream for producers and up soon, and we're working out the details in that in the membership section of the channel. And so we'll get that scheduled. It's looking like it's going to be in an evening time. But let's get back to this tweet that Kim tagged me in. So I'm going to click on it because I think I'm missing a part of it. So the tweet says, "My lead is Stan Anderson, Brian Laundrie's father's friend." So Christopher Laundrie's friend and former, or ex. Ex means something bad happened a lot of times. Not always. Sometimes people use former and ex together, but ex sometimes mean something bad happened. Ex-business partner. I'm convinced that he's hiding in Mexico and he can't be extradited to the United States. Thank you, Cindy's Cross Stitch, for joining the Feller fam today. You joined Mary and Heidi and M. Con, who all joined the Feller fam today. Means a lot. Thank you, Mike, for that super sticker. I see you, man. We're so glad that you're a part of what we're doing here. Thank you, Trace Spurns, for joining the Feller fam. Excited to have you guys as a part of what we're doing. And they say this: I'm from Bayport, New York, and I was a close family friend to the Laundries while they lived here. Their lawyer's wife, interesting, their lawyer's wife was a close family friend to Laundries. Their lawyer's wife is Lori Anderson Bertolino. She's related to Stan Anderson. So Stephen Bertolino is related to Stan Anderson. Stan Anderson is a former business partner and friend of Christopher Laundrie. So you're seeing the connection here. I think it may be a brother or something, though I'm not sure. This was years ago. Brian's parents took him to Mexico to stay with his father's ex-business partner, Stan Anderson. Brian's hiding in Mexico. His parents drove him to the Mexican border where he walked across to meet Stan. The final text Gabby sent to her mother, "Can you help Stan? I just keep getting his voicemails and missed calls," was actually Brian trying to coordinate his escape to Mexico with his parents and Stan Anderson after he murdered Gabby. He meant to send that to his mom, but got the wrong mom in his phone. He's in Mexico. So there's a lot to that. And again, it's one of those situations that's just speculation. There's nothing that, I can point at that says that that's a for sure thing. It's a theory out there, and it pieces together something from the puzzle piece that we're trying to figure out, which is the Stan text, to something tangible, which is a direct relationship to the family. And so it helps it make sense in that way. And somebody also tagged me in this, and this probably happened, but we're not saying that what they saw was Brian Laundrie. This person says, "I swear on my life, I just saw Brian Laundrie." Well, her and about 1,000 other people. She says, "An NEPA driving a white Subaru with New York plates. I was just interviewed by the FBI." And then she goes on to say this, which was somewhat interesting. She said he was heading up towards the back mountain. He was trying to go to a gas station that's not open. He pulled in there a few times. The third time I said, "There's something wrong with that guy over there. He looks confused and lost." He keeps pulling the same closed business, and he came around the block, and I saw his profile and face. I started videotaping him. It's funny that we call it videotaping too, by the way, because we don't use tape anymore, but we still call it videotaping. It's funny. It's like we don't even use tape anymore. Literally, they used to use tape. We were just recording them now. And then they said he looked confused and pale. And I told the agent, "I spoke to you." And I said, "I'm a makeup artist." And his complexion was remarkably fish belly gray, like he hadn't seen daylight in weeks. And that got their attention. So I hope my session with Stan pays off. So thank you, Tattooed Chick Roll, for joining the Feller fam. So I'm not saying what she did was was see Brian. I'm just saying reports like that are coming in, continued reports about people allegedly seeing Brian Laundrie or Brian Laundrie lookalikes come in. That one, the reason that one was interesting, or the reason that one was something that was intriguing people, was because of the skin complexion comment. Because there's a skin complexion comment that lined up with what was happening in the situation, then the FBI apparently wanted to do an interview. Thank you, Jenner, for joining the Feller fam. It means a whole lot. So again, we have two very different reports, two very, very, very different reports. Ava, thank you. I just saw you sent something through on PayPal. Two very different reports. One saying, "Hey, this Stan guy, there's a connection with the family. He's definitely in Mexico. They're covering for him. He's in Mexico." And then we got this other report saying, "Hey, by the way, I just saw him in Northeast Pennsylvania and he looked gray. And he's driving something with the New York license plates." So, one way or the other, two very different stories. And at this point, we have to actually chase down all of these leads, and then try to make the most of them. At this point, there's a family, the Petito Schmidt family, who needs to have closure so they can grieve their daughter properly, so that they can really move forward with their lives in a meaningful way. We gotta help them do that. There's potentially a murderer there. Well, not even potentially. There's a murderer on the loose that may or may not be Brian Laundrie. At this point, it definitely feels very likely that it's Brian Laundrie. He ran away. He was closest to her. FBI says 99% of the time strangulations are premeditated. Stats say usually they've exhibited that type of behavior at some point in the past. There was domestic violence calls on them by the 911. So all signs point to it was an abusive relationship, got out of hand, and he's on the run hiding. So most likely he's guilty. Allegedly, he's guilty for this. So there's a murder on the loose, possibly Brian Laundrie. So anytime we have something that feels like we might be able to put our eye on him, we need to be able to see it. And Crimson Rose says statistics say everyone has 7 doppelgangers on the earth at the same time. And so, good point. I believe that. Chrissy McGuire, thank you for becoming a YouTube member. It means a lot to have you as a part of the Feller fam. I promise you, you're going to love it. We're a great group of people. And I appreciate having people like you that are supporting the channel. Steffi says, hey, I thought he was in the initially in the Appalachian Trail, but I'm beginning to think there's a possibility of him just being hidden away, living a plush life through his parents. Just my opinion. And I know people are saying that his parents had a lot of money. I don't have evidence of that, other than they were flipping houses. But the house they lived in only cost $120,000. It looks like to me they bought it out of some type of foreclosure. $120,000 house is not very much money. So did they have multiple houses? Did they have multiple properties? Do they have a bunch of money and they're not into houses? I have no idea, So I don't know what level of wealth they have, but certainly they could probably get their hands on some cash if they needed to in some way. Teresa, thank you so much for the super chat. How it means so much to have your support today. Very interesting conversations coming through in the chat. I enjoy reading your guys' inputs and thoughts. And then the other thing, AK Christie, that again, like we continue to harp on, we continue to make, shine a light on, is the parents don't seem worried at all. They don't seem the least bit worried at all. They look like, to me, people who are walking around and normal look on their face, at times laughing publicly. People are going to hit me back on that saying it's okay to laugh. Thank you, Sniper, for becoming a Feller fan member. Thank you, Lacey, for the super sticker. Says hype. It's a collection of many different instances that made it appear as if when we look at the Laundrie family that they're guilty, at least in knowing more than what they're letting people know, because they're not acting concerned. Anita says the parents' behavior is odd. That's the point I'm trying to make. It's odd. That's why people think there's more going on. Frank says because they know where he is and they're silent about it. Mowing lawns, smiling with the FBI. I don't think there's anything strange about the lawn mowing thing because you got to mow your lawn. I predicted that it was going to happen because the lawn was getting out of control. I'm going to the link. If you guys have a question and you want to call in today, I put a link in the chat. If you guys can just click on it, call in. No foul language on this channel. Try to be positive and encouraging. If you call in, be prepared with what you're going to talk about and say. Be concise, if you don't mind. The personal anecdotes sometimes need to be cited at a minimum. Just there's more people that want to call in. And we want to get them to it. We want to stay task focused here. But I love when you guys call in. I love hearing your voices. I love seeing your faces too. If I'm able to see your face, I'm able to put. It's one of my favorite parts. I'm able to put a face, with a name of people that I see on the chats, and so it really means a lot. Alita, thank you for the super sticker. Thank you so much. Blessed in Texas says, hey, maybe it's not their first rodeo, just public this time. Interesting. Could be their first public, situation like this. Alita, I really like that super sticker. It says you are amazing. Thank you for that. And thank you for supporting the channel. Maybe it's not their first rodeo. They've had the Bertolino as their attorney for 20 years. Interesting. Jay, thanks for calling in. How are you?
It's Joy.
Joy, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing well. Thank you for calling in.
Of course.
Let me get to the super chat. Robert says this. Robert says, I think they have money. They bought a new camper to go camping with. And that's a good point that I think sometimes we don't think about. They have some level of money. They just went and bought a new camper so they can go camping on the 6th, according to the neighbor. And they had a previous camper. So they have a little bit of money. Thank you, Elizabeth. You sent some money over on PayPal. Thank you so much for doing that. All right, Joy. First, give me your thoughts and rundowns. Like, how are you feeling? In case you don't know, Joy's an attorney. She's been watching the channel. She calls in occasionally. What are your thoughts since you've last called in about some of the new developments that happened? What's your heart telling you is going on?
As far as like them searching for Brian.
Yeah.
You know, I try to obviously trust law enforcement and them continuing to search that area makes me believe that they have to have something, because I don't understand why they would waste their resources if they didn't at least have something to be there. Then there's the side of me where I am a tad bit skeptical at times. And then I question why Dog is in a completely different location, what he has that maybe law enforcement doesn't have, and vice versa.
That's true.
But what I would hope is that they have some kind of evidence, whether it's, a ping, or they have some kind of video evidence or witness evidence of some kind that he is somewhere in that reserve, and that's why they're continuing to search there and spend their resources.
When I talk, there's a little bit of an echo, and I don't know what it's from, but when we're talking about a couple things, maybe you can, and I know last time you called and you talked about the uniform bar and different questions like that, but people have been saying that they've researched Stephen Bertolino. He's not passed the bar in the state of Florida. Well, how is he representing the Laundrie family whose residence is in Florida then?
So any attorney is allowed to represent anybody as long as it's not in front of a judicial body. So as long as he doesn't step foot in the Florida courts and represent them, then he isn't breaking any rules.
So somebody emailed me today, and I did try to email them back, and I'll tell you what I said, and you can just, why don't you correct me if I didn't say the right thing? I said the attorney of record has to file an appearance as the attorney, and they sent me a court docket where it just was like the United States versus Brian Laundrie, and it said who the USA attorneys were, but it didn't say who his attorneys were. And I said, I'm sure he hasn't done that yet because he's been missing since before he was being sued. In general, the Bertolino represents the Laundrie family. So am I right or wrong?
So you're going to have to say that one more time. You're saying that because he started representing them prior to him going missing?
No, I was saying, like, number one, that court document, of course, it doesn't have an attorney represented because that was the filing of the lawsuit against Brian to begin with. So he hasn't had an opportunity to say, this is my lawyer. Number two, he's been missing since before he was given that warrant. So how could he say who his attorney is since he's been missing that entire time? And then number three, don't attorneys have to put into like the court of record, like, hey, I'm their attorney, and then it goes on file?
So if they're going to represent them inside the judicial body. So essentially right now to the world, he's representing the family, but if there was to be any kind of lawsuit outside of New York State, he would not be able to be their attorney. So it's almost like it's a friend of the family and he's just advising them and representing them as of now. But if charges are pressed against Brian's parents, they're going to have to find another attorney because he can't he cannot represent them in any other court other than New York. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. So, but you're saying he can represent the family. Oh, her internet cut out. Let me add her back. But what you're saying is he can represent them, like when the police showed up and they said, "You're gonna have to talk to our attorney." There's no issue there because it wasn't in front of a judicial.
Yes, exactly. They're allowed to um, send stuff through any attorney as long as they're obviously an attorney. It as long as they're not in front of a court, then he's not violating any rules.
Are attorneys allowed to lie to the media on behalf of their clients?
Um, it's, so I mean, this probably isn't the answer that you want, but it it depends. You know, there's so especially in New York, because that's where I went to law school, and the uniform bar exam that I took was the New York State uniform bar exam. But you also have to take something called the MPRE, which is the rules of it's the rules that you have to follow as an attorney to make sure that you're being ethical. So
So you can lie as long as it's ethical?
so as long as you're not breaking any of those rules that are in there that govern it. So not lie, like you can't flat out lie. But if it's the information that you're given by your clients and there's no reason for you to know otherwise, um, let's just put it this way: it's easy to justify it. So to us, there's some things where we're like, okay, he's flat out lying now that we know this information. But if he can show at the time that that's what his clients told him and he had no reason to know otherwise, then he's
Yeah.
protected.
I know you emailed and asked for some of these questions, but since I was on the stream, like it's hard for me to talk and manage the chat and respond to email. So
Of course.
all I could do was send the link. So if I ask a question and you want to plead the fifth, we'll allow you to invoke your right. Archer
If
says
I don't know it, I can always or if I'm not 100% sure cuz I don't want to say anything that's wrong, I can always look it up and give you the 100% like accurate answer.
that'd be great. Archer sent a super chat and said, "What happens if the Petitos file a wrongful death suit against the Laundries?"
Oh, I don't think that they would be able to be successful with that. So
So that's not a
no,
plausible route that they would take.
no, it couldn't be a plausible route. Um, Wrongful death. So that would be a civil suit. They would be looking for money damages. So that's really the only thing that will come out of that, right? So, in essence, you would have to question, well, how much money does they did that say against the Laundrie family or against Brian?
Against the Laundries.
Yeah, you can't. They want to be able to go after the parents, but it just wouldn't work. I mean, like they could always try, but that would never be something that an attorney would recommend.
Okay. Sarita, thank you for the super chat. She says, "I believe they're both intoxicated in that body cam footage. Brian hit the curb. Gabby was oddly adamant they don't drink. She seemed drunk to me." Well, Sarita, that's I think they said they don't drink. You're right. So that's why you're saying that. That is one way to think about that. Thank you for the super chat too, by the way. When I think about this, Joy, and I think there's a couple of angles people are wanting to know. How come they haven't found a way to get the parents in on something as one of them? And the second thing is there any possibility that Bertolino could be somehow safe harboring Brian?
Okay, so on the question about why they haven't brought the parents in yet, so for as far as what Stephen Bertolino says, and I don't really necessary. I'm very skeptical of him and how he's represented himself and the things that he said on behalf of the Laundrie family. Makes me really question his actions. But as far as he said, I know he said it. I don't know if any of the police or FBI have said it, that the Laundrie family or the Laundrie parents are cooperating with the police and the FBI. They don't seem to be cooperating to the public. As far as like what we're seeing, it doesn't seem like they're cooperating. But if they are cooperating and the police are stating that they are, and the FBI are stating that they are, there would be no reason to bring them in on anything, because the only thing that you can get from them at this point, right, is going to be information. So let's just go with the hypothetical of, let's just say they find a way to charge them with accessory after the fact, right? And that would be a criminal charge, a federal criminal charge. As soon as a criminal charge is charged against anybody, their Fifth Amendment right and their right to an attorney automatically attaches. So in essence, then they wouldn't really be able to get anything else out of them unless they agreed. So it would almost inhibit them to be able to get more information out of the parents. So the only reason why you would do that, or in that case, would be if they had solid evidence for that, right? Now, if you go the other route where, okay, now you're not going to charge them, but let's say they subpoena them, right? The only reason why you would do that is if they weren't cooperating and they weren't providing you with the things that you were asking for.
Interesting.
Does that make sense? So,
Yes.
like, if the police and the FBI are saying that they're cooperating, there'd be no reason for them to subpoena anything.
Yeah.
And if they are cooperating and they're getting relatively decent information or good information from the parents, then they wouldn't want to charge them criminally with anything, because then the parents are gonna invoke their rights, and then they're almost going to be at a standstill, because the only people that are, or the most valuable information that they're getting, I'm assuming, is from the parents.
Right.
So
So
it
at
would
this
be kind of
point,
counterintuitive.
it's like it's better for us if we don't do that. So, well, thank you,
Yeah.
Joy. You've been such a huge help. Thank you for liking, subscribing, and being part of our channel.
Of course. The other thing that I did want to mention is that I was actually speaking to another attorney about the coroner's report that came out.
Oh yeah.
And we were discussing how when you're a coroner, right, or the Wyoming law states that you can't say certain things if they're an affirmative finding of fact within the autopsy report, which is why he was able to say that she was not pregnant, because that would be a negative finding of fact. It would be neutral, right?
That was
It's
a
not.
big question. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's not an affirmative fact. So if she was pregnant, that would be an affirmative finding of fact within the autopsy report, and he wouldn't be able to disclose that information, which means there is some kind of an affirmative within the toxicology report.
Yep.
So the toxicology report came back, they found something within it, which is why he can't disclose that. And anything else, or any of the other questions that were asked to him during his press conference, which I believe, or he was asked if the body was found on the ground or buried, and he said he couldn't answer that. And the other question was if there was other markings on Gabby, which he said he couldn't answer as well. And I know a lot of people are wondering why he was able to say certain things and not others. And it's just that it means you can almost assume that the answer to those questions are in the affirmative, because that's the only reason why he wouldn't be able to disclose that information. I also found out, we briefly looked at the Wyoming state law for the coroner's report. I'm not sure if it would change if there's an ongoing investigation, because I don't know how pertinent the toxicology report is to the ongoing investigation. But I do know that the toxicology report is public information, and a request can be sent to the coroners for that to be released to the public. The other things cannot be released, but obviously if it's pertinent to the ongoing investigation, they're not going to release it. But
That's
I did not
very
know that.
interesting information that I was not aware of. But then if you become a reporter and you're aware of that, then you can ask certain questions to really get an answer that you want.
Yeah, there was a few things that because I was listening to the press conference, and I've, I've, one of the areas that I do is medical malpractice, so I am very familiar. I have a very heavy science background, so with questioning doctors and different things like that, and I know how to ask specific questions to get the answer that I would like, and there was definitely some things that could.
Sounds like she may have lost her signal.
I'm sorry. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I think you lost your signal
Oh,
for a second. Well, you're
sorry.
doing a great job. We're proud of you, and I think you're a great attorney, and I appreciate you calling in and lending us
Of
your
course.
expertise.
Of course.
Thanks for calling in.
All right. Bye bye.
It was great to hear from Joy. Laura, you say you make such a difference in the world. Thank you for making this Feller Fam. All your time is appreciated. Thank you, Lori. I'm doing my best to build a community of people. Prestige events. Thank you so much for the super chat. Just exciting. Glad that we're all here. I didn't understand that about the coroner's report initially, so I really appreciate that insight. And I didn't understand either about the Fifth Amendment is able to be invoked if there's a charge on you. And so if we want information out of the parents, then right now we don't want them to have a charge, because if they have a charge, they can immediately invoke their Fifth Amendment. And so if they are brought into some level of questioning, we want them to have to answer. Tyler, I love your YouTube cover photo of you dancing. Your positive energy is wonderful. Thank you, Carson. That photo was taken during a dance contest at my church during our vacation Bible school for our kids. And I won the dance contest. We were having a Fortnite dance contest. We were doing dance moves from Fortnite. And believe it or not, I was the winner. I want to tongue punch Joy's balloon nut. Okay. It's not very that's not very appropriate, but I'll take the super chat and use it for something good. Then Vicky says this is the only chat with somebody in the chat room that assumed Gabby and Brian were on drugs. Edgy much? I don't know. I've never said that they were on drugs. I allow people to speak their opinions, though, and I do think, Vicky, that everybody's entitled to their idea or thoughts of what's happening. Shane, how are you? Can you hear me? Okay, wasn't ready. Live, laugh, love. Are you there? Frank, how's it going?
Hello, Tyler. Thanks for having me, and congratulations on attaining 31,000 subs. That is, yes, as many people as the 25th largest city in Tennessee. So if you could
10
imagine,
times larger than the city that I live in.
right now, wow.
Yeah.
So it's that city times 10. Wow,
Yeah.
you could fill a stadium. Yeah.
Okay, I could fill our stadium.
Yeah. So that's wonderful. I'm glad that you've built the following that you have.
It's from the Lord, really, because I haven't done it. He's the one sending them, and you've been a big part of it. So thank you for being on here with us.
Oh, well, my pleasure. Anyway, the comments that I wanted to make tonight, it has to do with the parents. How do you think the Petitos and the Schmidts are feeling since they've heard the graphic details of how she was killed?
I guess Nicole came out and made a statement and said it's garbage, that the Bertolino was making a statement during it. But I would assume that they knew long ago. I mean, I don't know that for sure, but they are in conversations with these investigators. The stepfather was there, saw the body. I think that they at least had an initial suspicion of what it was. And that coroner's report was ready a week ago. They were just filing it. And so I think they've known for at least a week, but they've probably known the entire time. So
and I don't know why I thought this. For some reason, I thought, okay, if it was a blunt force trauma head wound. Oh, I guess I got kicked out.
No, you're still here.
All right. Well, it happens.
You're still here.
My back?
You've never went away. You were here the whole time.
Okay. Yeah, I'm here. Your screen disappeared for me. What I was going to say is, for some reason, I thought there was a possibility she was struck in the head, but when I heard she was strangled, it was all the more chilling to me, and I thought that to the parents it would be worse too. Like just the details of it, it's so much to deal with, and I'm wondering if if they have any cause of action to eventually sue Brian's parents for their part in helping him escape.
So did you hear the attorney that was just on?
I did hear her speak. I don't know that I heard her address that specifically.
She
I think she was
addressed it,
speaking more to the criminal than the civil, right?
she addressed it, and she said like the only thing they could do is get money out of them, and
Mm-hmm.
that she doesn't know if they would want to do that. So they could go after money. It could be something they don't want to do. I think that every parent would hold out a glimmer of hope that something accidental happened, and when they found out what it was, they realized it was the worst of the worst. And then you start thinking like, what could I have done to change this and all that, probably. So
Yeah. I imagine the laundry juicer business isn't doing too well. Probably get boycotted. I know I would personally boycott it.
if it's business to business, they might not at all,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
All right. Well, those are my thoughts, and thanks for having me.
yeah, thanks Frank for calling in, and appreciate you guys. You guys are amazing. Everybody on this channel, just love the support that is happening here, and just even Frank celebrating with me crossing that today 31,000 subscriber threshold. That's a big deal for me. Like, it's a big deal for me to get to 5,000. It's a big deal to get to 10,000 subscribers. It's a big deal to get to 30,000 subscribers. And I just really praying and asking the Lord, like, is it possible to get to 100,000 subscribers? Like, is that where you're taking this channel? And I really hope so. I want to shout out to Christina, who sent in a super sticker a minute ago, and I didn't get a chance to thank you for that. Thank you so much, Christina, for sending that in. And then we had a super chat that came in that I think I missed. I'm not sure who it was from, but I was going to try to go back and see that. But I know, Christina, that you sent in a super sticker, and that really means a lot. Diane, how are you?
I'm doing well, Tyler. How are you?
It's good to see you.
You too. I sent you some things today, but I'm sure you haven't had time to watch them.
I know I got an email from you, and I was so busy. I haven't had an opportunity to watch the video, but I know it was probably really quality. Was it about the lawyer that you were talking about?
Well, it's actually more about the forensics.
Oh, okay.
I sent you 2 emails. One was the video is from a chat on YouTube called The Debrief.
Yeah.
And they had partnered with the group called, I think it's called the Missing. I think I may be telling you wrong, but they had a forensics professor who teaches at a college, and he described, what Joy was talking about, the things that that Dr. Blue could not say. He talked about the differences of strangulation. He said that generally strangulation from behind is done by someone who you don't know, who comes up behind you and just grabs you. And those are pretty rare. He said they're more often, of course, it's domestic violence type situations. But he said that the pressure on the front of the throat and the fingers would have left blood that had dried in the tissue. And there's all these different, he goes into quite a bit of detail. And then at the end, it does talk about other people who are missing at the same time, or bodies that have been found, and why some get picked up and some don't. And I was kind of glad to hear that it was not because she was just a pretty girl. It's because of her presence on Instagram and, all the different platforms. But the other one that I sent you I sent you an email showing some information on Jose Baez. Now, when the Laundries went to Orlando to see Bertolino, they first went to the library and they walked around, picked up books, and FBI agents were like a row over, and they would pick up a book, look at it, put it back, pick up a book. And they did that for like 30 minutes. And then they left and they went to a brick building and supposedly met with their attorney. Bertolino was supposedly there. And on the 24th of September, the news started doing some investigation, and they sent questions to Jose Baez because he is a federal judge. He can represent them for the murder, Brian, in federal court in other states. And so he said, no, I'm not their attorney. But, at this point that, it's cheaper just to stick with the guy you got until you need the other one.
Until you need the other one, yeah.
But yeah.
Simple NB, who's one of our moderators, says Baez is the best criminal defense attorney. So
yeah,
I'm sure they have his eye on him.
And if you look at the email that I sent, he has his whole forensics team, and they're supposed to be like top in the world. And it talks about how we can take fingerprints and prove that they might have been someone. It's like we can undo everything that everybody else says they've done. So he almost brags about being able to get people off, which was kind of upsetting to me. But the video with the first guy, the professor that I was telling you about, that's about 20 minutes long. So
I looked at it, it was like 29 minutes.
Yeah. And the last like 15 minutes of it is talking about other people who are missing.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah. So, if you can just fast forward and see what he has to say, and it'll answer a lot of questions. But I thought it was quite unique that Bertolino was there and had to use somebody's office to meet with them, and Baez is right there.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's
in Orlando. He has an office
in Orlando.
Exactly.
Yeah, I looked up his address and I looked up the outside of the building, and then that's when I saw that some press had asked him, and he said that through someone else he answered, "No, I'm not representing the."
I heard rumors that they've had some conversations. Again, it's all rumor at this point.
Yeah, it is, and of course, we don't want to make stuff up, and but there's the possibility. And also, Bertolino is not just a real estate attorney. He covers civil cases, personal injuries. My husband calls them slip, trip, and fall.
Yeah, and he's a concierge attorney apparently, which
exactly for rich people.
He's helping rich people. So
yeah,
good insight, Diane. You should be a detective.
I used to be a newspaper reporter.
Okay.
Years and years ago. So for a little tiny paper. So
this is Diane from the New York Times.
No, it was from the Cheshire Herald. It was a weekly paper that, mostly covered sports, kids.
Now
sports.
You're a reporter for the show that has no name.
We don't need a name.
For the Feller fam.
Yeah.
Thank you, Diane, for calling in.
See you later, guys.
Ginger N said, thank you for always sharing the good news. Thank you, Ginger. I try. Prestige Events says, hi, Tyler. Faye here. I'm a former crime reporter from Malaysia. I pray that Brian's parents, with God's grace, open their hearts. Absolutely. I pray that too. Like just a little nudge, just a little compassion to want to if they made a statement, a lot of people's opinions about them would begin to change. So I wish they would at least make a statement. The link to the Sunday service is www.m1.church/stream, and it occasionally rolls through the chat. So if you watch in the chat, you'll probably be able to see it. Lacey says, I heart Diane. I think a lot of people heart Diane. For sure. Shelly, how are you? I think there's a
Hey, I'm
lag.
doing well. How are you tonight?
Shelly, I think there's
Can
a
you hear
lag.
me?
Shelly, there's a lag, so you need to make sure you have YouTube muted and have YouTube muted and be talking to me only through StreamYard, okay? Charmaine, how are you? You're muted. We can't hear you. You sent me a message that said you're new to this, so I know we're trying to get it all worked out. Carol, how's it going?
Hey, hi, how are you?
Doing well. Thank you for calling in.
Okay, in answer to your question, if an attorney is not licensed in a particular jurisdiction, they can file what's called a pro hoc vice. It's PROHOC VICE, and it's a special appearance to appear in that court. You've got to get a local attorney to kind of waves you in, but you file a special appearance. As a matter of fact, Bertolino answered one of the reporter's questions and said that if a case went to Wyoming, he would file a pro hoc vice. So it's done all the time.
Okay, well that makes perfect sense. Do you have to have, do you have to have a prior relationship with
No. Generally, you find a local attorney who kind of vouches for you. Not, just says it's okay if this person can, for example, when he used the offices of another attorney in Orlando, can kind of sit in my office and use it, but you don't have to have a prior. And then a relationship. And then in answer to your question about lying to the press, I know attorneys get bashed a lot, and I can understand why in many cases, but under the bar rules, now I didn't look up the New York bar rules, but the ABA, the American Bar Association, has rules that most states follow, rules of ethics for attorneys. You cannot lie under the rules of ethics about a substantial portion of a case to a third party. So that would include the press. And then also about harboring a fugitive or assisting a fugitive. And attorneys, like anybody else, it's against the law to harbor or assist a fugitive. So the idea that Bertolino would do that, I find myself somewhat suspect. So,
well,
I
don't you
have
think Brian has to be getting some help from somewhere if he's alive?
Well, I'm of the minority opinion, that I think he probably is deceased by now in the Carlton Reserve. I think that's why they keep
going
looking
back.
there. Yeah, I really do think so. I don't, that's just my opinion.
Well,
But this is a
you're
suggestion.
you're entitled to your own opinion. I'll tell you this: I put it in the poll. We have about 3,000 votes. 90% say he's alive. 10% say no.
I
But
understand.
we appreciate your
I
thoughts.
understand. I get it. May I make one suggestion?
Sure.
I know they've done it on News Nation. You might want to have a panel. I know they get a bad rap, but you might want to have a panel of some attorneys or some professionals in other fields to provide some insights. Just a thought. Just a thought.
Are you an attorney?
I am. Could you tell? Right.
I could tell. I like
but
having you on here.
But not a criminal attorney. I'm not a criminal attorney, so
If
and
you know a
haven't really
criminal
done.
attorney that you can connect me with that would be interested, I'd love to have them on and ask them some questions.
Okay. All right. Let me look into it.
Okay. Thank you, Carol.
All right. Take care now.
Clark, the Doberman, how are you?
Hey, Tyler, how's it going?
That's good, man. I'm glad to hear from you. Thank you for watching. I want to remind everybody, I know you do it every time, to hit the like button on the video. It helps out so much. Hit subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. It just shoots us out into that algorithm. What are your thoughts today, Clark?
Well, first thing I wanted to ask if you're feeling all right. Is your heart bothering you?
It's been, I'm a little nervous because I got a big day tomorrow. So
okay, it just seemed like I was worried, man.
Yeah.
But what I wanted to mention here is when you brought up the thing earlier in your show with the woman that said she saw him in that Subaru, I think it was. or something like that in Pennsylvania. I don't know if
Mhm.
you looked into those letters that were sent to all the neighbors.
Yeah, I have. I've read them. The ones
Um,
that were made public.
yeah, where it says that I don't have TV or internet or something like that. He says, I'm in Bigfoot country.
Yep.
Bigfoot country, I saw on a different channel, is a radio station in Northeast Pennsylvania along the Appalachian Trail.
Oh, interesting. I was wondering what they meant. I'm like, I'm sure it's like, where I live, they call it Black Diamond. And I'm like, nobody knows that. Or they call it Little Egypt sometimes. So it's like nobody knows what that is unless, you're in
Yeah, you're
there. So
from
I'm
there and
like,
you hear it. Yeah. But yeah, that's actually the name of a radio station. And whenever you said that that person was in Northeast Pennsylvania, that was like, okay, there's two things now
interesting.
that might add up. And
Yep.
yeah, saying I don't have TV or internet, well, then you might have radio access to listening to the radio. And he's maybe letting somebody know that that's where I'm at, and I'm listening to this radio station. But yeah, it's a radio station, Northeast Pennsylvania.
Well, thank you for the call. Very interesting.
Yeah.
I want to look into it more.
Okay. All right. Take it easy, man.
Thank you. Charmaine, are you getting things figured out? It seems like your mic might not be working. I want you on though. So if you have a phone, try to call in from your phone and just use it without any headphones. But I'm going to keep you on here and let me know when you think you got it working because I can see you guys down there trying to get it to work. You're muted. Oh, we can
We're
hear you
trying
now.
to get it to work.
We can hear you.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah.
Good.
Good job.
I really took my grandson to show me.
Hello, Tyler.
I
Hey,
just want to
man.
say, I have a couple things. I just want to say how great of a job you're doing. Wow, what God can do.
Thank you, Charmaine.
You're amazing. Keep up the good work. You have such an awesome spirit that I can just see within you.
Thank you.
And I keep praying for Brian to be found. I don't want him found dead. I want him brought back
Yeah,
to
me
be
too.
accountable for what he done.
Mhm. And to bring
Gabby
answers and
deserves
closures
that.
to Gabby's family.
Absolutely. And the whole world sees this. And my opinion, and this is just my opinion, I believe his mother knows where he is. Maybe not so much his dad, but I believe his mother does. And
She
I really
seems like
feel
the
she
one
needs
that's
to open
running
up.
things.
Yes, and I've been with this case since it's began. I've been with you. You just kind of popped up on my computer one day, and I started listening to you, and then I found out you were a youth pastor, and I want to really go into what you preach sometimes. So I really like to have that video.
See,
To
Tyler,
get into that.
Tyler, I never knew you could do this. I'm gonna start joining with you, and maybe we could say some prayers together.
That'd be awesome. I'd love to do that.
But I really believe that Brian is still alive. I think Dog has been the closest to him.
Yeah.
My thoughts are that he's down, more or less down into the Bahamas now. I believe that. I seen something today on Facebook. There was somebody on there putting different looks on him, what he could look like now with hair and everything. I don't think he's there where they're looking at now. I think he's went on to a little further because I think he's getting help from his mother. I really believe she's involved with all this.
Did you see Dog came out with a new message for Brian Laundrie today?
No, I actually didn't get to see that one.
Let me play it for you.
So, Brian, what did you do? You're living it every night, aren't you, boy? Turn yourself in, Brian. Once in your life, be a man.
So what do you think about that?
I agree, Dog. Once in your-
He had some pretty.
Well,
that's a
I
way to say that, right? I mean,
Yes, I you know what? I love Dog. I've followed Dog and Beth for years. He's a good man, and I tell you what, I'd rather Brian get caught by Dog than I would the police. because
One
at
thing I
least
know will
Dog's gonna
happen.
try to give him a second chance.
If Dog catches him, he'll share the gospel with him. I know that.
Yes, exactly. And he will talk to him, and he will, let him know that God loves him. But my heart just breaks for Gabby. Could you imagine
That being your family.
I can't even imagine that being my daughter. It's like one of my daughters being out there
I
and
know.
getting strangled. That's the worst. I just pray God was with her and she went quick. And, my heart just breaks for her. I've been following this case since day one. And it's just, it was weird. And the whole case is weird to me. There's just not something right about it.
Something don't match up.
And the attorney, something just doesn't match up with this.
I feel like the attorney helping him.
Something's not matching up with this attorney. I feel that this attorney has something in on this. I believe he knows where Brian's at, and I know the confidence between an attorney and their client. He can't say anything, but I honestly believe that. But I know I don't want to stay on long because I don't want to take up your callers, Tyler. I just wanted to say keep up the good work. Tell Gavin to keep up the good work. And God bless you, Tyler, because you are doing an amazing job.
Thank you, Charmaine. Thank you for calling in. Have a good evening. Vandy KD00, thank you for the super sticker. Love your support. Jen says this in a great way. This case just keeps getting weirder and weirder. Absolutely. Sylvia says, did Gavis find his friend? You know what? Gavis just emailed me, so I'm going to send the link to Gavin. I'll ask him if he found. I'm assuming he found his friend. I feel like I would have heard about it if I hadn't. But I'll send the link to Gavis, and he'll hop on here before too long. But yeah, I don't know for sure. We'll ask it. Thank you for the super chat, though, Sylvia. Nicole, how are you?
I'm okay. So I watched tarot card reader or something, and she was
Nicole, just so you know, for me, my faith belief just conflicts totally with tarot cards and that whole world.
well,
And
it
so
wasn't like a card. It was like a board, but
even that, like I'm not trying to be rude or disrespectful,
yeah.
but I don't even want to talk about tarot cards on this channel at all.
Okay, I'm sorry.
It's okay. You didn't know. It's just in complete opposition to
Okay.
to my system of belief. If you have another thought about this, like, do you think Brian's still alive?
Yeah, I think he's still alive. I think he's okay, but I don't think he's mentally okay right now.
Yeah,
I think he's still in the States. I do want to become a member at the end of the month when I do get paid, because I really enjoy your channel. I enjoy the no swearing, no cursing. And you are very, very honest, and you like with us being honest, you like us being nice to each other, which is really good for a channel to have, because a lot of channels are not nice to each other, and like they bash each other and nobody says anything. And it's like, that's why I come on your channel rather than watching some of the other channels.
Well, thank you, Nicole. It means so much to have your support, and I do appreciate you calling. I'm sorry we can't talk about what you want to talk about, but
it's fine. It's it's your channel, so yeah. What is your church's name?
My church is called M1 Church.
What is it called? Let me write it in my phone.
M1, just the letter M and then the number 1. M1 Church.
So like, where would you be doing tomorrow?
Or if you go to on Sunday, www.m1.church.
Okay, hang on. Sorry.
I'll put it in the chat section to you.
Like in the regular, like the private chat thing?
The private chat on here on StreamYard, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Because I'm Christian, and I would love to, hear you preach. I've never heard you but you seem like a really good person, you know, taking time for this case, Gabby's case, and I would really love to hear it.
Great, Nicole. We'd love to have you. Thank you for calling in.
Thank you, Tyler. Have a good night.
You too. Sarita, thank you. You say the Laundries and the Bernalinos were in New York. They're really friends. And the Bertolino's daughter had that GoFundMe that was tied to Brian. Fishy. That is fishy. I didn't know that the daughter was tied to the GoFundMe. That is fishy. Susan J says, or sends a super sticker. Thank you for that super sticker. Barbara says, please repost the gun number. Okay, I'm reposting it now. Just reposted it. And then I want to shout out TK, who became a member. You joined Sniper, Chrissy, Jenner, Tattooed Chick, Trace, Imcon, Cindy, Mary B, and Heidi, who all became part of the Feller fam today. Welcome to the family. That's what they say. Welcome to the family. Gavis.
Good
is
evening.
Your friend alive?
I think my friend was a mole.
Really?
I can't find him. Yeah, I can't find him anywhere. Yeah, he offered to go take a look at all the New York sites for me, and then he's left the channel and haven't heard from him since.
He left the channel?
Yeah. Yeah, we
Maybe he got spooked.
But why would he offer up to go look at all those locations for me? And I haven't heard from him for like 30 hours now, so odd.
Hey, something bad might have happened. I don't know. Vandy K, D00, thank you for the super sticker. It's like a little cat. I like it. A lot of people saying hi to you.
Hey guys.
Do you think people are saying, do you think it was Brian? Was Chan Brian?
Who knows? It's just
Shelly,
odd.
are you on here?
Yes, I'm on here. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. There was just such a long delay. Well, one time it cut out, and then the other time there was such a long delay. And so I hope there's no delay this time. I want to shout out Tamar, who got the Don't Stop book. Thank you for getting that. So what are your thoughts today, Shelly?
Hey, I'm thinking about the money, follow the money. And I've been sort of watching and trying to be observant to just different things about the Laundrie family. And I noticed somebody mentioned that they had bought a camper. And I've been looking around, and that's one of the less expensive types of campers.
It's a very cheap camper in the world of campers. I have friends that have $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 campers. So.
Exactly. That's a big deal now. And then the other part was, you know, they had put their house up for sale for a little while, and then they took it back off the market. Did you happen to notice that?
I think they have a history of flipping property. So that stuff doesn't really concern me. It's like, it just looks like
but I was just going to let you know that I went on that link, and you can see inside every room. They may have taken that down now. That was early on. And it's just very sparsely furnished. Which also kind of gave me a clue that you're not pouring money into inside types of things. And with the pandemic was the other thing. I wondered if they're getting to a point where they really don't have extra money. But I did hear you say that like they could get it. Did I misunderstand that?
Well, the business has been a business for a while, and he's been connected to some other business stuff. I don't think that lack of putting his hands on resources would probably be an issue.
Oh, okay. Okay. I was wondering, because somewhere I still think he's alive personally, and I feel like somebody's financing his ability to hide out. Do you have any hints, thoughts, ideas?
I mean, I don't have a theory that I believe like this is what's happening, but that's one of the theories in my mind that's a for real possibility.
Okay. Well, thanks for letting me join the channel. I hope you guys have a good night. I appreciate you.
We love having you on here. Sorry that the chat wasn't working out good the first time.
Oh, that's no problem. It's probably my fault. Take care.
Thanks. Sarita, thank you for the super chat. You say if Gavis gets on, look, he's here. Just like that. And then boom, he's here. He knows what I'm talking about. The GoFundMe.
Yeah, I briefly read it. I apologize, Sarita. Yeah, she was just talking about how the GoFundMe is related to one of the laundries, and yeah, it's just a weird connection.
Melissa says she looked at the juice business and it's only been in business since 2017. Well, his brother had a juice business that's been in that, and I think they were together, and then maybe they separated and he has a different branch from the way I was understanding how that sort of tracked. So other than that, I don't know what his work history was beyond the juicing company. Paul K, super sticker. Thank you, Paul. There's the yacht thing. That's a potential, right? Do you know what Christopher's job history was?
I think they were flipping houses and they had that juicer business back when they were in New York. I don't see them having a ton of cash. I really don't. I know there's all kinds of, oh, they've got $5 million. You know what? If they had $5 million, they'd have a better looking truck in the driveway. They'd have a better camper. They'd have a better car. Yeah, I just don't. I mean, if you even see the inside of the Brian Laundrie's room and stuff, like he's using an old, table that's probably got at a garage sale or something. It's horrible. So yeah, I don't see money. I don't see money with this family at all. In my eyes.
Have a fair amount of money because they're driving newer vehicles. All right, and I know people who don't have money at all, and they can't afford they can't afford the kind of vehicles they have, and they have two of them. They have two vehicles. So, Christy says, Tyler, you're making a difference in God's kingdom. It warms my heart to hear people say they're drawn to this channel because of the values. Honestly, Christy, me too, and it's really the Lord who sends people here. It's one thing that I've been able to count on the past couple of weeks since we started this channel. It's just that the Lord's sending people here, and then people are drawn here for different reasons, and that's one of them. So appreciate your support of the channel, and you're part of the Feller fam too. So anybody who's a part of the Feller fam, so people are saying some people are frugal with their money. So there could be really frugal with their money. Some people are rich and misers. I know. I'm telling you, sometimes when people pass away, they leave money to a church, and they'll tithe. Like they'll leave like 10% of the money that they have to a church. And we had somebody pass away not that long ago who was the former pastor of the church for like 25 years. And he tithed a lot of money. And it's like, I know how much his salary was in the 70s and 80s when he was the pastor. It wasn't very much money. He was just really frugal, and he had accumulated a lot of wealth from just being very frugal. And so and nobody would have guessed it because he didn't live a lifestyle that said that. And so really, some people are very frugal in that way. Kat says people on welfare drive nice cars where I live. It's that way sometimes. Like, there's different philosophies about money for sure. And Avery says, thank you for the super chat, by the way. You can't always go buy material items. No one knew until my mother died that she had millions in the bank. Just drove an old van, very frugal. You're right, Avery. Ashley Martin says the mom's worth $5 million. Thank you for the super chat. They don't have nice things because they spent it on the golden child. That got a laugh out of Gavis. He liked that one. I just want to say thank you to Diane who purchased the Don't Stop book just now. Diane, it comes out November 16th. If my publisher lets me to, I'll get it to you sooner than that. But I'm just happy and excited that I got a book coming out that so many of you are supporting in that way. Kat, thank you for the super chat. You're a big time supporter of this channel, Kat. Thank you. If his parents' story is true about Brian went for a hike, how far could they have gotten on foot before they started looking for him? Good question. Timeline from the 13th to the 17th. I think they could have already searched the radius. How far do you think he could have got on foot? We tracked it all the way to North Georgia at one point. We did this, Kat, where we went kind of in depth on where he could possibly be. And we tracked it to like North Georgia, which there was a campground there called the Low Gap Campground. And the theory, and he could get in the Panhandle. So there's ways he could go up north or make a left once he got around the curve of Florida. He could get pretty far. Like we literally did the math on it one day. So, and then you say, I think they could have already searched the rate. We thought that too. We're like, send a team here because it was closer to the time at that point. Now it's been so long. It's like, who really knows?
Yeah.
Teresa says they have owned and sold 3 condos in their area. And the house they live in now, they had rented. A lot of people in Florida do this. That's true. There's people in my church who have properties in Florida, and they live there half of the time, and they rent it out and do Airbnbs and stuff like that too. So very true. Jackie says, I lost my daughter Angie to murder. I'm so sorry to hear that, Jackie. And then died. No justice sucks. I'm Baptist, and when I heard the guy died that killed her, I was a mess thinking he's with her now. Your thoughts? Jackie, I'm so sorry that you lost your daughter, first off. That's my thoughts initially. Just go there. It's like the Lord is close to the brokenhearted, so I know he's with you. And I know I had dinner tonight with someone and a pastor that is working with me tomorrow, and he lost his granddaughter to an accident, a car accident. It just broke my heart to hear that. So it just sucks. And then especially when it's a situation where murder was involved, having no justice sucks. And so I'm sorry. I hope he's alive. I'll say that. If I had to make a statement about that, I would say I hope he's alive. Tammy, thank you. Just saying hi to yourself and Gavis and our wonderful chat, our awesome mods. I was laughing at those I'm Not Brian t-shirts, though. Thought I'd send you one, LOL. That'd be great. Gavis needs one. Avery, one other thing. Did you see the email I sent about Christopher's business partner in Mexico's name, Stan Anderson, who's the brother of Bertolino's wife? Yeah, I did see that, and I know, Gavis, you've been tracking that some. This
I've kind of gotten away from it.
You don't think it's a theory, or the Chan thing freaked you out?
Well, I want to clear up the timeline dates. So I reached out to Joe Petito and Nicole Schmidt today on Instagram. So I'm hoping to hear back from them and then clear up this mess, because right now we have no data and it's really, really an issue.
So we did talk about it some, Carly. And something good to think about. Ashley sent a super chat, and I missed it. Scrolled through, but you said, if the murder Brian is in the reserve, why do they have it open for the public? If he will kill the love of his life, he will some random person. I thought about that today. As they were searching the reserve, they had that police tape up. And the reason I thought about it was because they had those rifles as they went in. And I thought, they think he's dangerous. They think that he could hurt someone. So absolutely, I agree with you. Carrie, you become a member there's a join button. Also the pinned link in the chat. If you click that, it'll allow you to join. Ashley says, I can't afford this really, Tyler, but look into the San Luis Valley. Everything changed there. That place is evil. They met a group. Okay, I'm going to write that down. I will for sure look into it. San Luis. And I appreciate the super chat. I really, really, really appreciate it. Thank you for sending that in. And I promise you I'll look into that. CJD, thank you for continuing coverage. Justice for Gabby. Absolutely. Absolutely. And we've talked about this. Like, I don't feel like I can stop until we find justice for Gabby, personally. I just don't feel like we can stop. Grandma Patty's here. Sorry I'm late. Watching from Puppetsville, California. Blessings all. You know what, Patty? You might go viral on the internet with your puppets. I think on your YouTube channel, you should do a puppet show. It'd be a big hit. People miss puppets. I miss the puppets from Children's Church when I was a kid. Chrissy McGuire, thank you, and Gav. What do you guys think? Cassie gave Oscar perf in front yard. After camping trip, I think it was arranged for her to keep him. I feel he's in Cassie's laughing. He's been there the whole time. No one gets in the home now. You know what, Chrissy? There are some people who still are of the opinion that Cassie's involved at a high level way, and that's a possibility. I didn't watch the body language experts of what she was saying. Instead, I felt so bad for the kids that were involved that I just sort of like backed away from conversation about Cassie. When you think about there's kids, she has children at home involved. And so I really haven't made much statement about Cassie, but as Gene says, could be. It's one of those things that could be. Somebody says, why is Dog on the screen? We had Dog on the screen because he made a new statement for Brian Laundrie. Did you see that, Gavis, his statement for Brian Laundrie?
Yeah, I don't know if he's going to appreciate you holding him on pause right like this.
It could be worse. It could be on that one.
That's he's mad. I think we're all mad.
Let's play it again.
So let's get him.
So Brian, what did you do? You're living it every night, aren't you, boy? Turn yourself in, Brian.
We'll get him.
Once in your life, be a man.
I mean, hey, I think that's a wild way to be. Sylvia says this, what if he had guns hidden in different places? Like the serial killer Israel Keys. He would hide kill kits in different states. So maybe he hid guns in different places in Florida. Listen, I wouldn't be shocked at all about that because I know people all over the place that hide guns. I'm in southern Missouri right now. If you know anything about southern Missouri, it's basically guns are currency here. So I wouldn't be surprised if somebody who had an inkling for guns would be hiding them. What do you think about that, Gavis? Like, is it a possibility?
I think the answer is much easier than that. I think it's, way easier than that. I think that the Laundries had flipped a couple properties. Maybe Brian had extra keys to that. Maybe it was still vacant. Potentially, you're right. Maybe Cassie's harboring him. But I think he's got to get to the lawyer. So all the sites in New York, I think, are a good possibility. And then the Bertolino lawyer's daughter is really connected to Costa Rica. She organizes trips for schools. She organizes trips for clients. I think Bertolino's securing real estate deals down there. So I'm really focusing on Costa Rica right now.
Did you hear back from any woof farmers about the?
I did. I heard back from the head office from the woofers, and they immediately sent out my wanted poster to every single host in the world today.
That's great.
So yeah, I hope that we get some results from that.
Carrie, yeah, we're gonna get 1,000 sightings of Brian all of a sudden. You should put like might look darker complected due to sunlight.
No, we put about 18 different pictures on that poster that we sent out. So it had profiles, it had frontal, we had his ears, we had everything, the hand, fingertips, everything. We did it good.
Carrie, thank you for becoming a part of the Feller fam. Also, Charlie, thank you for joining, being a part of the Feller fam. It means a whole lot to have you guys on here. Just So Sweet says, resend any validity to the unknown named neighbor who saw Brian and Gabby fighting on the lawn last year and he choked her. I added that guy on Instagram because I wanted to talk to him and ask him that. He didn't accept me.
Wasn't that a girl? Because I'm trying to track her down. I think I have a picture of her.
I'm trying to track the guy down that left the statement on Instagram that said, I saw you choking her or whatever. And I'm like, oh, it might have been a girl. I'm like, I'm going to try to contact this person and ask.
Yeah.
Because that comment was made like way before Gabby was even considered deceased. So
yeah, I'm trying to get Brian Enton to do some research on the ground, but doesn't seem to respond.
Shelly says, typically people who are frugal have self-discipline and strong morals. I don't see that with the Laundries.
Good.
Good.
I really don't think this guy has money because I know that lawyer's not moving on this unless he's got 25 or 50 grand up front. And I don't think they've got big, huge bankrolls like everybody else thinks. Because those condos that they were flipping was like a second floor, run of the mill. I don't know how they could make it a profit flipping that. So anyway. But those are definitely places he could hide.
April, how are you?
Good. How are you guys?
I'm all right. So what are your thoughts today? Thank you for calling in, by the way.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I have a few thoughts here. First, just to give you a little of my background, my son was murdered April 14th of 2018.
I'm so sorry.
And so now I do activism and advocacy work. And my situation was a lot like this, except without somebody running. Gavis, you and I used to be, because I've watched this from the beginning, and you and I used to be like totally on the same page, and you've kind of flipped on me for everything. So like, I don't believe that he's involved with Kylan and Crystal. I'm hoping that at some point, Tyler, you reach out to Kylan's dad and have him on. I think he could be a really good source of info.
I'm just so busy. I wish I had somebody that like is arranging this stuff for me.
I see. Yeah, because that would be really great if he could be on. I think like since he talked about SA, I think he knows, more than what's out there in the news. I know for like my case, the detectives and even the DA was very upfront and said, we're going to tell you this stuff, but if we hear it on the news, we see it on social media, you're completely cut off. Do you know what I mean? So I think that they have inside info that they didn't. I also think the Laundries have money. And the reason I think this is because they have more than one property. The same person who murdered my child, they don't look like they have money. They live modestly. They came up with $500,000 in cash just for bail, not to mention a 6-figure popular attorney here in Minnesota. So it's surprising what people will do for their kids. It's sick. But I thought the cops did a really good job with that pullover back there in Moab. I thought they took more time than I've ever seen for anybody. So I think they're getting a really bad rap. It was just a really tough situation, but they took tons of time with them and did the best they could. I mean, the most they could have done.
The result, there's always going to be criticism.
You're right. But the only other thing they could have done is at the end arrested them both. They both go sign that paper in the morning and off they go again.
Yes.
So I do hope that, maybe I'll even try, because I know a couple of people, I'll try reaching out to Kylan's dad, because I feel like he's gotten to the point where he's kind of pushed into the background now, and they're kind of, moving away from that story, and he'd really like to talk, and, he's feeling out of clues. So I bet he'd love to get on here.
I'd love to have him on. My schedule is just too busy. Like I can't make it a priority to try to like spend time getting contact information and reaching out, but I would love to be able to. I have like a list of people I want to interview. Like Carol said, get some experts on. I'd love to interview some different experts in different areas. So I asked her to find a criminal defense attorney, but I have a meeting in just a couple of days with someone who's like very, very, very close to Dog, like best friends type close. And I'm going to try to see, I'm praying for an open opportunity to see if there's any way we can get Dog or Lisa or somebody on.
That would be nice.
April, I don't mean to cut you off, but I reached out to the private investigator that's working this case in Moab last night at 11:30.
Okay.
And he called me back today, and I talked to him for over an hour and a half.
Nice. Did it seem like he has somewhere to go with it?
He was partway through my 3.5-hour video, and he was extremely intrigued. So.
Okay. And what do you think about how Jim Schmidt had said, when he went to the place where they found Gabby? Because one of my biggest things is what Brian did as far as when he left. So, I mean, I think we can all agree that he did this to her, but when he did it to her, did he get scared, panic, run off, and do that kind of hiking if he didn't get an extra, hitchhiker ride or whatever? And then did he go? And then once he decided, because part of me thought, what if he, in his head, because he's panicked and he's not in his right mind, is hearing kind of like Jacksonville instead of Jackson Hole? And that's why he was willing to offer the $200 for the ride. Because obviously $200 for 10 miles is, ludicrous. But after that, and, she says, no, we're just going to Jackson here, 10 miles away. He's like, that's not where I have to be. And the only way I'm going to get back to where I need to be is to go back and grab the van. Does he go back, grab the van, and pack up their camp? Because Jim said you could see where a tent would have been. So if they had their campsite there, like, and he had told the lady that he only had a tarp. So my thing on that is, you know, did he pack up everything after doing it and then leave, or did he come back, pack up, take the van and then leave? You know, I wish there were like pictures or some way to.
Oh, I know. It's just pure speculation on my part, but I think what he did is in the morning, he packed up the tent and started to hike out, and he probably waited on top of the crest of that hill above that bushes there, and he probably looked to see if anybody saw him, because he doesn't get to Coulter Bay until 5 o'clock. So he probably sat up on that hill waiting to see if anybody was going to catch him, and then he started to make his hike, and that's where he ditched the tent. That's why he only had the tarp. And so then he got to Coulter Bay, took the good shower, got rid of the other stuff. And then when Miranda Baker was driving him back, Brian was confused because there's Jackson and Jackson Hole. And if you're a local, Jackson Hole is referred to Jackson. So when she started to go over the dam, he knew he was going on the wrong road. So he jumped out there. And then that's when Norma Jean picked him up going the other way, back around to Spread Creek.
It just doesn't sit right with me that he offered $200 for such a short ride. Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like he really
to make it memorable.
Some people have
establish alibi.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Some people have said that he offered that much so that they would remember him.
If he had just taken one card and not two, and just not taken everything, he'd have a lot better shot out of this. I also wonder why the parents would even bother to report him missing. If they were going to help him escape and that was their whole plan, he had no charges at the time. He was a person of interest in her disappearance, but there was no bank fraud charges. There was nothing. So if you weren't legitimately concerned, why go ahead and even bother to deal with the police to report him missing in the first place?
I think it was just a page out of the lawyer's playbook.
Yeah, him, I think that they had because of their business. Like, I think that he's been on their payroll for a long time and just going with the flow. I don't think he actually knows what he's doing as far as any criminal case, or, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think they'd have to retain.
I think
comes to that.
I think you're right. If it goes to a trial, I think they'll retain somebody who's an expert. Bertolino will probably sit as second chair or third chair or whatever and be a part of the team. But I think you're absolutely right.
Okay. Well, thanks for having me, guys. Keep up the good work.
April, thank you. Do you have a website or something?
You know what? I don't. I know that to keep up on our case, and that this is a big part of how I feel about Gabby's parents. When you guys ask, you know, is Brian dead? Is Brian alive? We actually went through 2 trials because of juror misconduct in the first one. And now we're just going into appeal time. He's just filed his first appeal. And he's never going to tell the truth because they have money and can keep fighting it. So for Gabby's parents, there's not ever going to be any closure. I don't think anybody ever really talks. And I think their best chance of getting anybody to talk would be the parents if Brian is legitimately gone. If they find him dead, I think the parents might say what they know then. Otherwise, they're just closed mouth forever because they're going to protect him. There's no closure. There's no justice. It's a never ending process. Unless they're gone, they're always relevant. And with something like this, you know, even like Chris Watts, who wants to see him on the TV. Does Brian do TV appearances then from jail? Does he just sit and profess his innocence while he's out on bond? I wondered if the one time, remember when the dad first went to the park? I thought Brian might appear. I thought it might be kind of a thing where, all of a sudden Brian's found because he was gone somewhere, comes back to the park. I've been here the whole time. I was like, they better find his butt emaciated and dehydrated, and he better look really bad if you're going to try to pull one of those.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was like, he better look really terrible if he shows up.
I did look at that angle too.
Yeah, it's
well, April, I'll be praying. I'll be praying for you. You have great insight. Please email. Let's keep in touch, and I'd love to have you on anytime you want to call in.
And if anybody, because I threw it out there, wants to know our story or follow our journey, there's a Facebook page a friend did called Justice for Chase Allen. And that was just so people didn't have to ask, you know, me questions all the time during the trial. And I was very quiet. I wouldn't talk to press. And unfortunately, they let a show called Law and Crime come into the courtroom and record the second trial, and it was all over YouTube and all that kind of stuff. So I know how they feel like that, just not on a, such a grand scale, but it's hard having everybody in your business. So they want justice now. They want to face him, but he's never going to talk. And the best thing they can do is make him irrelevant and move on with just her.
For sure.
So have a great night, guys. I'll keep listening.
Thank you, April.
Thanks.
That was a great call. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, that's the other side, right? If you do get him alive.
Some of her story, and people I know really enjoyed hearing from her as well. Tell me about your call today with the investigator.
Oh, it was just pretty short and sweet. I guess he just started and we were talking it over. I just checked in and yeah, I just said, make sure you watch the 3-hour, 44-minute one and it'll go through everything. The chat was wide open when we taped that one. So any questions should be answered completely. So still waiting to hear back.
Did he seem like he thought Brian is a high percentage of likelihood?
Well, he hasn't seen my video, right? So he hadn't seen my analysis then. So he was in the process of going through that. And we just talked about my background and some other things. So yeah, no, he was extremely interested.
TK says, I believe Christopher Laundrie went to the reserve to look for Brian to pull the media away from Cassie in the news and her interviews. There was that timing around all of the media stuff going on with Cassie at that time. And it felt like the parents needed to do something because there's some massive pressure. So very interesting. So anything else you want to say about that? Because I think people are interested in that call that you have. It like people are like, dude, it was an hour and a half. Spill some.
No, it was just a productive day. We got the stuff out to the woofers. We got contact with the private investigator on the Moab. And we've got some really good leads in Costa Rica right now. So I'd say productive day overall. It's easy.
Mike, thanks for calling in. How are you?
Oh, I was getting ready to type you a message. I thought you may have forgot about me. Well, I guess good evening, Gavis and Tyler. I guess the most important question of the night is how's your health, buddy, with your heart situation?
It's all right. Could be better.
Well, I'll be praying for you,
Thank you
buddy.
for asking. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll definitely be praying for you. And prayers.
Let me real fast shout out. Let me shout out our mods too in the chat. Jin B, thank you so much. You're like, what am I, chopped liver? Of course not. We're so appreciative to you and the other mods. You're doing such a great job. And if you guys don't mind, just tell the mods you love them, you care about them, and you appreciate what they do. They're volunteers here, and they're working hard to make sure we have good flow. Yeah. Mike, what are your thoughts today?
Well, I have a few theories on mine. I think the Laundrie's attorney's kind of trying to stay in the limelight to try to buy Brian some more time while he's on the run is my theory. I could be wrong, but I just got that gut instinct that he's trying to stir us away from something, and I just hadn't quite figured out what it is.
I think you're right.
I mean, don't you get that gut instinct?
Yes.
And another thing is, I'm with Gavis on the Costa Rica. I would almost bet $1 million on that, but who knows? I might come out broke. But
do you have $1 million to bet, Mike?
No, not even close, Tyler. Not even close. Maybe 5%. Even if it's that much. But yeah, I'm losing my train of thought here. Another thing I wanted to say is while they were on their trip, they did have a .32 caliber pistol, correct?
I don't know if it's about when they were on their trip, but they for sure had a gun at some point because there's a picture of Gabby with a gun.
So was that while on their travels, or is that like back in Florida?
I don't want to talk about it. I don't
Well,
know.
I don't
Picture.
know. It was just a picture of a Polaroid.
Okay, well, I was just gonna say, and it could be silenced many a ways by a pillow, 2-liter pop jug, just for a theory. But last but only, if you might think this might be a good poll question to ask the audience, Tyler, I was posting earlier. To what distance or extremes would you go to find your child if they were missing?
If I would go, I would not stop. I would spend every
Me
last penny that I
neither.
had. I
Me
would,
yeah.
I would get as many people as publicly aware of it as possible. I would form as many search teams as possible. So I know what you're on to, so and what you're thinking
Yeah.
about. So thank you, Mike, for calling in.
All right, see you guys.
See ya.
You wouldn't bunker down in your house for over 30 some days and cut your lawn and go on a camping
Gavis,
trip?
I would go after them, and people like it too when you give more insight than saying I'm not going to talk about the things.
Well, it's such a hot topic. I'm getting into so many arguments these days, and now I'm starting to like, you know what? It's not worth the effort. Go ahead, go down that path. If it's a 36 or a 22, like getting hung up on that is just like, come on, just move past it. Even the autopsy didn't say that it was a gunshot. It said it was a strangulation, so it's kind of irrelevant.
Correct. So the way to say that is, the gun really wasn't an issue in this
Okay,
case.
all
It
right.
doesn't seem
I'll get better. All right, all right. I'm learning. This is like my 6th time ever. Come on.
we're new at we're both new at this, actually.
Exactly. We're trying
Matt,
to get better.
how are you?
I'm doing all right. How are you guys doing?
Doing well. Thank you for calling in. And real fast, I want to shout out some of you who've joined the Feller fam: Lara, Archer, Carrie, Charlie, Caroline, TK, Sniper, Chrissy, Jenner, Tattooed Chick, Trace, Imcon, Cindy, Mary B, and Heidi. Thank you guys so much for joining the Feller fam today. Hey, Matt, what are you thinking today? What's on your thoughts about this case?
Well, I'd like to know and see what you guys think about this. So I was watching another channel this afternoon, and they're going back on the text that said Stan, the big old mystery about the Stan text.
Yep.
And so they were saying they're just throwing out speculations or whatever, just what they think it maybe could be. And they were thinking maybe Brian sent it on Gabby's phone, meant to send it to his mom, but he sent it to Gabby's mom. So I did some Googling, and I Googled just Stan Bertolino, and it's kind of interesting what comes up under his name. Maybe that this Stan guy was meant to go. It was supposed to go to Brian's mom, but he's actually sent it to Gabby's mom. And if you Google Stan Bertolino, it comes up with passport specialist. I don't know if he's related to Steven or it just kind of made me think. I don't know.
That's interesting. I just Googled it. It said Stan Bertolino passport specialist. I wonder how long ago that account was created, though.
Right. I'm not saying it's, but it's just something to think about, maybe look into. I thought maybe Gavs could do some more deep diving into that. Or
we did look at that, and we kind of got away from it.
You did, okay. All right. I just wanted to bring it, make sure you guys didn't know that.
Yeah,
it took me to LinkedIn, which I had like 700 notifications, and I'm like, I immediately got off because it triggered me and thinking like how far behind I am on all of that.
All right, so yeah, I don't know. Maybe I thought maybe he's related to the attorney or whatever, but
we're really focusing on the children of Stephen Bertolino right now.
Gotcha. All right, guys, enjoy the show, and God bless. And I'll talk to you guys later.
Thank you for calling in, Matt. Sandy, thank you for joining the Feller fam. Really excited to have you as a part. Jen, our mod today, sent me an email, and she said, what about if we made Feller fam merch? Would you guys be interested in Feller fam merch? Those of you who are in the Feller fam, she had a good idea for what it could look like. Thought it would be cool. I want to shout out Simple Envy, Jamie, who's also modding right now. Thank you guys so much. Live, laugh, love. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, good to see you. How are you today?
I keep getting cut off. I don't know why.
Well,
I
it's
don't know
working
why,
now.
but I'm so excited. Listen, Gavin, I'm
Gavis.
with you. I am
Gavis.
Gavis. Gaviscon. I take it every night. The liquid.
Just go take the Pepsid. You don't have to do that anymore. Just take those
Listen
little
to me.
Pepsid pills.
I don't like being like that. Can I do it like this? Will I be cut off like
Yeah.
this?
No. It's fine.
Oh, okay. All right. Listen to me. Please do not cut me off. Just listen to me. Please do not cut me off.
Here's my rules. I'll cut you off if you curse or say something really bad that I disagree with that conflicts with my faith, or say something that really dishonors or disrespects Gabby. Those are when I cut people off. Let me read
No,
this super
I will.
chat too from Huda real fast. Huda says, number one, he got back to Florida on the 31st or September 1st, but no one saw him. Great head start.
Okay. I
To
will
be a
not
fugitive.
say no cuss words. I
Okay, good. But
promise.
let me finish reading this
All
super
right.
chat. To be a fugitive, you need
Okay,
money
sorry.
and connections, and the lawyer is a real properties agent. Red flag, 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 flag. I think Huda Gavis has given you the thumbs up. A lot of people are tracking with you. Okay, live, laugh, love. Now
All right.
you've scared me because you said don't cut you off. So I'm
No,
close
no,
to the cut
no.
you off button. So I'll give let me hear what you have to say.
Just keep your finger there. So if you hit it, I'm good.
Okay.
All right. Listen to me. Just listen to me, please. Just listen to me. All right. Stand to be send authorities, blah, blah, blah. Y'all know. But Brian has a uncle, or the uncle knows somebody in Mexico. It's Stan Anderson. Okay. So that's that. But let me tell you something, I'm just gonna say it. It's just my religion. My heart, I dream about Gabby. I dream about Summer Wells, and I dream about Daniel Robertson. That's three people who is really big on my heart. But with the Gabby information, hear me out. The autopsy, whatever they do, I don't think is going to make a matter. The matter is going to come with, in my opinion, let me make sure I say that so don't nobody curse me.
Okay. And you guys speed up to it just a bit.
Okay, sorry. Well, I'm lagging, and I can tell it by looking at y'all. I'm lagging. Keys, cell phone, and the two girls. Just hear me out. Just hear me out. Just hear me out. The keys. We need to get a hold of the picture of the keys, of what is on the keys. I believe this man is in Mexico. They are down there in Florida. They're all wrong. They're wrong. In my opinion, they're wrong. They're not. The man, the boy, whatever you want to call him, is not there. His parents, I think they know to a certain extent. Maybe they don't know the whole extent. Cassie is the same way. I don't think that they know everything. I don't. I know they know a part, but not all of it. Okay? Hear me out. Listen to me. The Lord will make a way. I am telling you, He is going to make a way with those keys, either with the keys, the cell phone, which he threw that out the window. Somebody's just going, but why can't they ping it? It can be pinged. And I'm going to tell you something else. The devil is deceiving. He is a liar. He is a liar. And that is why we're seeing nothing on the news anymore about it. But I will tell you this, whether the guy that they found out there in the little cabin thing that they thought Brian Laundrie was at, the guy that they found there, he did bad things and they caught him. Now, listen to
Okay.
me, Tyler.
Hang on.
Tyler,
Listen,
just
you listen to me.
to me, Tyler. Okay.
Listen, you've been on here quite a bit of time, so time's running out.
Okay, Tyler, when you're doing your questions, please put in there, do you think that because of Gabby, a lot of eyes are open and a lot of things have opened because of her? We're talking about domestic violence. We're talking about finding other people, whether it be male,
It's definitely highlighted a lot
female,
of really
or
positive stuff.
kids.
Hey, listen, thank you for calling in today, and
Thank you.
we appreciate
Gavin,
you.
I love you. Tyler, I love you. And I wished I could get your book, Tyler. So if you have extra cents, send it to me. Love
Thank
you. I
you.
would love to read it. God bless
Okay.
everybody.
Yeah,
Freebird says Brian probably lied to his parents, got home, said he found her dead, swore he didn't harm her, knew he'd blame her, and begged them to help disappear. That's that I've been saying this too, like, and you've heard me say this many times, Gavis, that agrees with that. Like, it's possible that he could have said something dishonest to his parents, and I keep going back to what Chris Watts was saying to his dad. Do you have any thoughts?
I didn't change my mind. I'm still on the 17th to the 23rd. The lawyer's involved, and he told them something then. So the parents already knew well ahead of time. So yeah, I'm not buying that other stuff.
Freebird, everyone's saying you're right on the money. April J, thank you for joining. I want to shout out TK and just say, I see you. Your name's Tracy. I don't know how to change your name on here either. I think you got to go into your Gmail account or whatever. That's how I do it.
Oh, I wanted to say something. Is it okay?
Yes.
My team over here, they decided that some of my merch is going to be me rolling my eyes, and then when I turn the coffee cup up, it's going to be a middle finger on the bottom of the coffee cup. Apparently they like that, and they thought that was hilarious.
I can send you the Gavlock thing I made you. Robert says, Uncle Thomas, North Carolina. I think we've looked into the North Carolina thing, Boone, North Carolina, or whatever. I mean, it's a possibility. Somebody should send a dog there to sniff it out. MCon Black, how are you?
You're muted.
You're muted. Okay. Darren, we're going to add you. Please unmute.
Hello.
How are you?
Good. How are you tonight?
Thanks for calling in. What are your thoughts about everything today?
I love this sweet girl. It should not do this to women. Women is nice people.
Yep.
Women is awesome.
Yep. Thank you, Darren, for calling in. We appreciate you, man. Thank you for being a supporter of the channel.
Yeah, I hope you guys have a good night.
You too.
And I think he was going to say, I hope you catch him.
And I hope you catch him. Avery says, I messaged Sean Paul about coming on your show. Hope you don't mind. If he responds, I'll coordinate it for you. Sure, that'd be great. Carly, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing well. This room, I'm in this hotel, and this room above me is making a lot of noise, and I want to call the front desk and tell them to be quiet because it's disturbing me. So, anyways, maybe they'll calm down. Other than that,
I was gonna say maybe
How
you
are
should take a
doing?
minute and do that.
No, it's okay. We'll probably the viewers will drop like 1,000 people if something like that happens. So, anyways, what are you thinking about everything?
I'm still okay, so somebody said something about Brian probably came home and told his parents like somebody else did it or whatever.
Yep.
And I think that's possible. But somebody that's like that, you know, that it seems narcissistic. I can't say because first of all, I'm not licensed, but second, like I don't know him.
Your
I mean,
phone's
he's
cutting out a
probably.
bit.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Now we can.
Okay. Okay. So people say he's kind of like a narcissist or whatever. I can't say that because I'm not licensed and I've never met him. But people like that tend to lie a lot and usually get caught in it. So if he came home and said something like that to his parents, I really feel like they would have known he was lying and probably not helped him. I think they actually just know.
Yeah. Thank you, Carly, for calling. I'm going to let you go because your phone has a lot of static.
Okay. Sorry about that.
No, it's okay. I don't know what she calls it a lot. She's a great caller. She doesn't usually have static on like that.
Yeah,
Just
no,
So
that was
Sweet
weird.
says, I know this is old, but thoughts on Gabby's phone pinging in Puerto Rico. But it's before she was missing. Brian isn't savvy to spoof numbers or to alter her GPS.
I haven't heard
Yeah,
anything
he
about
could have.
that.
I've heard it, and actually, JB was talking about it today. That's what I was trying to say yesterday, Gavis. Like that, I didn't get out. Like you were like, how would it be? How could you be pinging stuff if, like, you know, they haven't, the warrant says they haven't used it. Like it was a recent ping. In other words, like it was turned off and they charged it or whatever, and it turned on and pinged. That's what this
But
thought
didn't they
says.
take all the electronics from the house? Like, how are they getting Gabby's phone in the first place?
They might not have been able to get the phone.
Well, again,
They could
that's
have,
pretty good speculation if you're going to do
because
that. That sounds like clickbait material to me. I'm sorry,
I
but
think you're in a bad mood today, Gavis.
no, I'm in a great mood. I've had a great day. I mean, look at that. We got Woofer, we got the private investigator. I'm having an awesome day.
It's a possibility that Brian wasn't even listen. Brian wasn't even there whenever the FBI came and took all the devices. So, and we assume he has a burner phone. Why would he not have her phone too, wherever he's at? You know what I mean?
Sure.
Sarita, thank you. It says, do you guys both believe Cassie? I'll let Gavis go first.
I do believe Cassie. If you saw when the protesters were on her front lawn, she nearly burst into tears at the last couple of minutes of that, and that's why the protesters backed off. So I don't think Cassie and Brian are close. They're almost 10 years apart in age. And yeah, her kids look up to Brian and Brian gets something from that, but that doesn't mean that they're both close. So I don't think there's a big bond there, in my opinion.
I lean towards her being honest, more honest than not. Like she's probably 70 to 80% honest. And then she said, are the Laundrie parents protecting him because they knew he was twisted since high school? Possible.
Well,
their silence is baffling.
Yeah, at this point, there's probably only two possibilities, right? The parents or the lawyer.
Or they know nothing, and that's that too. But Huda, to that point, says the parents are lying and they have no ethical morals. They got a lawyer and refused to talk and led the FBI. They lied about the timeline. They definitely weren't. Didn't it come out multiple times that the timeline they had said turned out not to be true? So
yeah, they adjusted it or whatever. But yeah, as long as they keep their mouth shut, they can't lie because they're not saying anything.
So devil's advocate Christy says, in my opinion, I do not trust her. Her daughter and son are 11 years and super close. My oldest son and youngest are 10 and very, very close. Half truths, maybe. It depends on the family dynamic, you know?
Well, I think also she was trying to abide by what the lawyer said, and then she was trying to abide by what the FBI said. So she kind of got caught in the middle and didn't know how to potentially answer the questions perfectly, right? So she stumbled a bit.
There's over 6,000 votes on the poll. I forgot to close it out and start a new poll. 88% of 6,000 people say that Brian is still alive.
Good. Hopefully we get him.
So I'm going to say this on this next poll. Do you think Cassie is lying? I know we did that poll before. It's been about a week or so. since we did the poll, that same poll before. Let's see what happens this time. James W., you're live with Tyler and Gavis on, the show that has no name. What are your thoughts?
I was just wondering, like, what do you think is going to happen if, like, this credit card fraud just turns into a murder charge? Like, do you think more people will start coming forward? And, like, I think maybe people are helping him, but it's only because he's only not charged with murder yet. So they're not really too freaked out.
I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
I think the murder charge changes some things because
yeah, it would definitely change things,
Go
right?
ahead,
Once
Gavis.
they break the first one and they start unsealing the other stuff, then it's, yeah.
Aliam says we got a new emoji. I haven't had time to make it yet, so we'll have a new emoji next time. The next emoji should be good cop, Tyler good cop, Gavis bad cop. What do you think, Gavis?
I don't
about
think
that?
I'm a bad cop. I think I speak logically is what I think.
I'll give you that. I think both of us at times are misinterpreted, like misunderstood with like the reality or the sentiment of what we're saying. James, do you think Cassie was lying? Okay, or just hang up on us. James, do us dirty like that. Incon Black, are you ready this time?
I think I am. Can you hear me?
We can hear you, but there's a bit of an echo. So I'm going to give you a second to mute YouTube.
Okay. No, I haven't got YouTube on. It's not going.
Oh, okay. Well, what
Can
are
we
your
do that? Anyway, I want to say God bless you both,
Thank you.
Tyler and Gavis, and God bless the family. Seems to be growing very well. What do I think? I think that the deer running through the valley at the whatever you want to call it, the wetland at the moment seems to be a good indication of a few things that I've been thinking. And one of those is that I don't think that there's a cell phone involved at all. However, what I am interested in is that someone saying that her phone was pinged in Puerto Rico as opposed to Costa Rica. My understanding is Puerto Rico is a U.S. territory. Is that correct?
Yeah, you can get there, no passport, nothing.
Okay, well, if you manage to actually get a sea container out of the US at the moment and go to Puerto Rico, you could just tie gaffer tape, put a phone onto the back of a truck that's going in that direction or heading somewhere. Sea container ends up somewhere. Somebody happens to notice a phone on the back of a truck or on the back of a sea container, picks it up, manages to plug it in, it gets pinged. There's that possibility. The other thing too, back to referring to the deer, is I don't think that I want to know if they had some kind of Garmin SATCOM device that they could use in the event of an emergency, whether it be a Spot X, a Zoleo, Garmin InReach, or Indifferent. You could just tie that onto the back of a deer and have it ping home every 2 days or what have you, and the police are chasing a deer that's got it strapped to its neck around a bit far-fetched possibly, but an animal of some sort. He may have trapped it, put it on it, let the animal go, and it's running around and getting pinged every so often, and that's why they keep going into various different places in that reserve. There's that possibility, and also in regards to the fact that the coroner came out with a cause of death saying strangulation, etc. Well, we can have a cause of death, but two things may be true at the same time. And what I mean by that is that you can say the cause of death of somebody is a heart attack, but the means to where the heart attack came from could have been some kind of a toxin that eventually caused a heart attack. If you keep giving somebody a toxin, the dose makes the poison, according to Paracelsus, eventually you're going to end up with a heart attack. So and as far as going back to SATCOM devices, I'm going to hit up the fact that they have an affinity for water, and vessels that are on the water. Inmarsat is a means of communication. You can get an Inmarsat phone. It doesn't have to be in anyone in particular's name. It could be in an LLC's name, etc. And so, they're the things that's running through my mind as to, how you go chasing those signals around. They usually are encrypted, so you're not going to find out what's on it. But actually geolocating the devices, that's a hard thing to do if it's moving around or on the back of a truck. So that's kind of where I'm at the moment.
Great thoughts.
Yeah, so
thank you for calling in.
No, you're welcome, and thank you for spending the time to do this. It's very important, everything that we're all doing.
Thank you for joining the fellow fam today too.
Bye-bye now.
Robert Grammer says, yo, Brian and his parents went to Cassie's hut right away as soon as Brian returned. Makes you think why. I thought about that too.
Brian
What's your
really loves
assumption?
Brian really loves those kids. Like when they were traveling, Gabby and Brian would send back postcards just about every time they got to a significant site. So Brian feels like the king of he feels like a king in the eyes of those two little boys, right? Like he's so cool and he's going to all these places. So that's the only positive stuff that Brian has other than Gabby in his life. So he values that. And obviously the grandparents probably miss the grandkids as well. So they're there.
Great.
I think it's just that simple.
Precog, how are you?
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for calling in. I just want to remind everybody too, if you haven't done so already, please hit that like button and please subscribe. Would it be cool if we hit 100,000 subscribers before Brian was found? And I hope Brian's found tomorrow. So
I'm sorry. I just want to say that Gabby is amazing. He's a genius, very smart, and I appreciate your channel. And I want to say, Gabby's, if you need eyes, boots in Canada, the United States, in Florida, Central America, South America, come to me.
Yeah.
I have those.
I need boots on the ground in Costa Rica. Get a hold of me on my Twitch.
I have eyes and boots in Costa Rica.
Okay, well,
I cannot say who is there, but
no, I don't want you to. But just
I have been there in the Pacific and the Atlantic. But come to me.
Yep.
Precog, thank you for calling in.
Hey, un momentico. Pues, I'm sorry. I speak 5 languages. Momentico, pues, Taylor, you say you speak Spanish. Gracias, muy amable. Y pues, Gabby, ¿cómo está usted?
I always say this. I say, orando pero un milagro de Dios.
And I speak German. I spreche Deutsch. So, Gabby, if you need anything for your thing, let me know, okay?
Yeah, come on.
Thanks for calling.
Excuse me. I just need to know your email address.
Stay on here, and we'll send you the link in the private chat of this thing.
Good. I was born in Berlin, so I have.
Stay on here. Stay on here. Don't go nowhere. Stay on in the back room, and we'll send you the link to the Discord.
Oh, now I got to capture it.
Aletha, I think I can get it real fast from when you sent it to me today. Aletha says, I think Brian has always had some issues of some kind in his life, so the parents know how he's always been. They both know he did it, and he told them on the way home. I think, Aletha, people are starting to think that, at least. People are starting to think that.
All right, I got her that info.
Okay, great.
She's good.
I did a house blessing for a Spanish family. It was beautiful praying together in 2 languages. It's cool for sure. Some people are like, it's Friday night. I hope that's not what's happening, guys. Maria, how are you?
Hey, how you guys doing?
Dios los bendiga a todos, which is God bless y'all. I just want to comment real quick about Cassie, right? I don't think she's lying like all the way, but because when he came, right, in the middle of his trip that he came down, for the Stars thing, whatever, they spoke to Gabby through they FaceTime Gabby, and he was just for a short period of time, and they got to talk to her, and stuff like that. So I don't believe that when he came back, that they didn't talk about her at all whatsoever, because when he came back the first time they did, so why the second time they're not going, so that's like the only thing. She's probably saying the truth in one thing, but she's not being completely honest. That's my belief. I don't know if you guys think the same thing, but
every time you call in, Maria, you have really good insight. So
I'm just saying,
what do you think about what she was saying, Gavin?
I mean, I think the first thing that you have to figure out is why did Brian come back in the first place? Whether he went and if he went to Disneyland when he came back, it doesn't matter. Why did he come back?
Mm-hmm.
If he went and saw the sister, maybe just to visit, doesn't matter. It's why did he come back from the 17th to the 23rd? And I'm pretty sure we all believe at this point it wasn't just to move a little bit of stuff out of a locker.
He was making his plan.
We don't know. Until we catch him, we won't know. And even then, we might not know.
You're right. You're so right. I just had that thought, because he went to her house the first day he came back. So, why the kids didn't FaceTime her now? Why they must have to say something, So I think that in that part she's not being honest. I think she's lying there. That's what I wanted to say.
At least she did come out on the front lawn and she did confront and talk to the protesters. She's done a heck of a lot more than her parents have done. So
definitely,
that to me shows that she's innocent. In my eyes, she's not got nothing to do with it.
I mean, at the end of the day, they are innocent. He's the only one actually guilty. Right. They're only guilty for backing him up or not saying everything they know. But the guilty one is him. All right. Well, you guys have a good night and keep up the good work. I don't miss you ever. Like I always be seeing you guys and my kids. Like I even got my kids involved in this. Well, yeah, have a good one. And
thank you, Maria.
Good night. Good luck.
Robert says, yo, there's a couple down in Florida. They dug a hole in their backyard to prove that Brian could be under the flower bed. I saw that. And they're saying, like, listen, it's not even about the fact that a bunker exists or doesn't exist. We're not making a case about that. But the fact that so many people are saying it couldn't exist, we're here to prove that it could. And I was saying that the whole time, too. Like, I don't think they're in a bunker in the backyard. However, from every ounce of research I did, it is possible. And I saw that too. It was funny. It was a funny post.
I'm not sure how legally you can do that, right? Like they should be able to go in and do a sweep of Cassie's place quickly, a sweep of the Laundrie's household. But I don't know legally what you can and what you cannot do.
Colleen, how are you? Me neither. Colleen, are you there? Karen says they will all have to live the rest of their days with a guilty conscience of what they're doing to the Petito family. I really, too, I want to talk to Sean Paul because if these cases are connected or not, and do you think that private investigator you talked to would be on the show? Because whether they're connected or not, I really want us to go down that path of like, I feel drawn to Kylan and Crystal and Gabby. And in my head, there's two tracks, one where the three are connected and one where they're not. And I want them all. I want to go after all of it.
Yeah, I'd let Jason Jensen work through it, and it's going to take him some time. And if he has any questions, I'll walk him through it myself. But I stand by that timeline, and if you want to rake me over the coals, go for it. But yeah, I don't think there's anybody else out there that's made a good, solid connection between the three.
Do you think he'll come on the show and we can just ask him some questions?
Yeah, absolutely. He's been on all kinds of shows. So
what about Cindy Sue?
You know what? She's already done enough. I don't think that she needs to be. No. Let her grieve. Let her grieve.
Randy, thank you for the super chat. It means a whole lot. Love the support. Raji says, if you're not guilty and you want to help find your family members, you let them come in and look. Good point to what you were saying. Boston Rose, how are you? What's a Boston Rose? Is there a difference between a regular rose and a Boston Rose?
Good evening, kids. How you doing?
Doing well.
I'd love your show. I might have a little bit of a delay here. That's a very good. That's a good Irish song.
Oh, okay.
Boston Rose. Go ahead.
Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
I'm probably going to have to drop down. Too much of a delay.
I don't know if there's a delay
Can you
on my
get
side
Steven-
because I have not good internet.
Tyler, can you try to get Stephen Bertolino on?
Yeah, I don't. Since all he's doing is texting and it's only like actual media, that'd be funny though. I'd love to have him on. Jennifer, how are you?
Hey, can you hear me?
We can hear you. Tina, how are you?
I'm doing fine. Can you hear me all right?
Thank you for calling in. What are your thoughts today?
I just want to see how you guys are doing and to make a few comments as far as the legalities of entering a home.
Oh, good.
Okay.
As far as entering a home, they have to have some type of reasonable suspicion and probable cause in order to gain a search warrant. A judge has to sign off on it. However, to get around that, they can politely ask. Anybody can give consent to come. You can give consent to come into your home. Other than that, you have to have a search warrant. You can't just barge in unless you're actually chasing somebody through the door. That's the only other kind of way around it.
Okay.
And
Thank
I
you.
agree with Gavis as far as Cassie, but everybody has to also understand, even if she wanted to come out and say everything, if she knew where he was, what he'd done, what he said, a lawyer will tell them to keep their mouth shut. And the reason for that, if you say anything during the course of an investigation, it can go to court. They can write it down, they can record it, and they're going to ask you about it in court, and you can get tied up into a lie, which would cause either you to look guilty with everything else that you said and or be charged for it.
Oh.
So the whole point of not saying anything is to prevent yourself, if things get further along, even if you're the one guilty, is so you don't get tied up in court. Because when it goes to court, anything that you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. That's why we don't Mirandarize until right before we take them into jail. It's actually in a room most of the time, depending on the agency. In a room that is recorded and videotaped, as we go through paperwork, we read them their Miranda rights before we ask them the questions.
Okay.
So that's the reasons for all that.
That's great. Thank you for that insight.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Thank you.
You have any
Great.
questions?
How could you try to force the parents to talk right now, or how do you think you could try to get that statement approved in front of a judge?
All the statements they would have, the FBI would have gone in and asked them, but they could have pled the fifth.
Right.
Especially with a lawyer, they probably would have advised them to plead the fifth, which is their right. It doesn't look good for them, but when they go into court, however, any questions that they're asked, they can still plead the fifth to a degree. It's not gonna. It's that they can only plead the fifth if they're in reference to them answering a question that would incriminate them.
Right.
That's great, Tina. Thank you for calling in.
You're very welcome. If y'all have any more questions, hit me up.
For sure. Will. Thank you.
Have a good night, guys.
Kat says, hard question. Could Brian have confessed about murdering 2 girls to Gabby, and then she threatened to go to the police? It's a strong motive. Yes. some other people have made mention of that. I think, Kat, you're thinking in ways that are trying to establish sort of that what that motive could be, and that's definitely one of them. And I think it is, like you're saying, it's for sure a strong motive. Sylvia says, I saw a short video of the PI, which Gavis talked to on the phone today, in Moab, and he kind of hints that he believes the two might be connected. I saw that too, but he said he needs more leads. Today, Gavis was a lead just on the timeline.
Yeah, so he's going to go through my 3.5 hour timeline of everything and then get back to me. That's where we left off. And so I go into a lot of in-depth everything in that timeline, and as soon as he sees it, he'll be like, holy, exactly, okay, I got it. It's the only thing that makes sense.
Okay, great. WB says, who's the owner of the silver Mustang?
Roberta
Laundrie is the owner, I guess. Did Brian not have a car? Because that's what it seemed like.
No, I think he actually put a little bit of money towards the van, but I think the van was also in Gabby's name. So that kind of just shows you a little bit more about Brian.
Do you have any idea what Gabby did for 6 days? I always just think she was working on her website and stuff, because that's the only thing that her dad said. That's the only thing I know for sure, because her dad said that. Do you have any idea what?
We don't know, right? I mean, we lost all the pictures, everything up to that point. Like the next picture we see is the one just outside of Salt Lake at Ogden, Utah. So, I mean, it's brutal.
I'm going to add Eric to the call. Eric, thank you for calling in. We can't hear you. Do you have your microphone hooked up? Because you're not muted. Bowmanator, Gabby hid out in the hotel room. Where's she hiding out from? Ron says, does anyone think that the stickers on the van are a clue to where he was headed? I don't know. The Venice, Florida was on there after they returned. What were the other two?
I think he was just bored, and he didn't have any electronics in the house for all those days. So like he just had some extra stickers laying around. And he's like, well, I'll put them on the van and put them in the shape of the Aries constellation.
Jennifer, how are you?
I keep having trouble connecting. Can you hear me?
You're on here with us now.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm getting through.
Yep.
Okay.
We hear you.
I had a couple of things to add. Plunder on YouTube Plunder on YouTube did a interview with a hacker on the Chris Watts case about cell phone tracking of calls, texts, social media, and apps. And they do not need the physical phone. So if Brian and Gabby's phones are missing, they can trace the serial numbers and the identifying numbers on I think they were both iPhones, through the purchase, the point of sale. And then they can subpoena through the carriers everything, all texts, all calls, everything. All contacts made on social media on both Brian and Gabby's phones. And they do not need the physical phone for that. And that's what they did in the Chris Watts.
Yeah, but don't you still
situation.
need a warrant? That's what Sarah's saying in the chat.
So they had texts and calls from Nicole Kissinger, including ones that they deleted. She deleted them. Chris deleted texts and calls.
Yeah, there's
Yeah,
some.
you have to. Well, I think they can subpoena if he's a person of interest. I believe they had all of that subpoenaed before they even arrested Chris Watts. They certainly had all of Nicole's data, and really quickly too. So I wanted to add that. It was a very interesting interview on Plunder that she did with a hacker, and he was explaining how they track and trace, and they don't need the physical phone. The other thing I wanted to add to the mix is that there's been a psychic medium called Molly from Real Housewives.
Well, Jennifer, I'm
of
sorry, I'm going to
Tarot,
stop you
and I
right
know
there
that
just
sounds-
because I don't want to hear about psychic mediums on my. There's such a lag in what she's saying. On this channel, I don't want to talk about psychics. I don't want to talk about mediums. I don't want to talk about tarot cards. I don't want to talk about little strings that people attach to their bodies and send different ways. It's just not welcome here. Okay, other channels, whatever, talk about it. It's not my thing. It's in direct opposition, according to the way I believe. Alicia says this: I think Brian flew back because of the tension and fighting. He may have felt inner rage starting and used the locker as an excuse to leave and calm down.
Maybe he needed medication, wanted to come back and up his meds. There's a whole bunch of speculation.
Eric, is your mic working? Nope. That was rude. I don't think so. Personally, there's such a lag. It was going to take 3 minutes before she heard what I had to say. It's my channel. I don't know what you mean. What's wrong with hearing her Hindley, though? I don't know what you mean, but there's a lot wrong with it from the way that I view the world. You don't have to view the world the same way as me. I'm not asking you to, but that's how I'm wanting to view the world. And it's not, I don't even pick, you know what? I don't even pick my own views. This is where my views come from. And there's very clear statements about that type of thing in here. I don't even pick my own views. I allow this to be my foundation, just so you guys know. Avery says this: I'm talking with Bridget Calvert now. She is Sean's brother. She's talking to Sean. One of them will be on in a minute.
Oh,
Jason is their peon. Cool.
Yeah.
Bridget Calvert. Did you tell her the rules about no cursing and all that? It's important to me. There's a difference between prophecy and mediums and psychics, just so you know. Just so everybody knows. And I don't want to get into it. I'll have a private conversation with folks that want to talk about that. There's a difference between all of that, between prophecy, psychics, mediums, astrology. They're different, and there's instructions around those things. I'm a pastor. I studied the Bible. I went to Bible school. So for me, I'm just following that. No, I'm not trying to be offensive to anybody. I have to hold true to my convictions in the same way that many of you hold convictions about certain things. I have to hold true to my own convictions. Jessica, how are you?
She's muted.
Good. How are you?
Doing well. Thank you for calling in.
What do you think about the okay, there was the dog search, and of course they brought the father in the beginning, or 3 weeks later, but then there was a body found that's still ongoing, and then there was a dog search. And what do you think about the FBI tactics, like strategy wise, that they could use with now the barn and also a guy looking like Brian, that a guy now goes in there and finds in like one day with the what's it called, the body, where what's it called he used,
The body cadaver.
yeah, what do you think about like the FBI strategies they could use behind that?
I think it's
For like,
interesting. They might be being very strategic, or it might not be anything.
like I have so many more questions. And also that Stan guy, isn't he the one that supposedly met or didn't meet, but he was at the same library as as Bartolino and the Laundries when they had a meeting? Is that the same attorney? Or is it just the friend of an attorney?
Honestly, you're really quiet when you're talking, so it's hard for me to hear you. But I think some of what you're saying we've addressed in great detail yesterday and earlier today.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll go back and look at them. I have 3 children, so it's kind of hard to stay on.
Well, we appreciate you. And I know Gavis was making mention of the fact that FBI could be using that person that went out with Christopher Laundrie as a tactic to try to get some familiarity going, some conversation going.
Someone's getting hit.
I don't know what happened. She was there and then she wasn't. WB Oliver, how are you?
Hey guys, can you hear me okay?
We can hear you. Thank you for calling in.
Man. God bless you guys, man. Gavin and Tyler, this is like my 3rd night. And anyway, I've just been not infatuated, but obsessed, I guess, with the whole thing like everybody has. Never in history has there been this many armchair detectives, you know. Okay, let me get to some questions that I have. Some thoughts. So I was asking about the Mustang. Maybe I was off a little bit, but I was thinking like if Roberta owned the Mustang and he didn't come home, the dad said, you know, he went looking for him. If that was true, then that could be legit, you know, signifying that the parents really don't know anything. Anyway, I think the camping trip holds so many questions about that. Like Cassie comes on the 6th. Is what I heard.
Yeah, from 2 to 8 o'clock.
Yeah, 2 to 8 p.m. and brings the kids. There's pictures of Brian and the kids. You know, Gabby's already dead by this time. Brian's smiling on the tree trunk, taking pictures with his nephews, and maybe just in mild shock, going about things as best he can or whatever. You know, were they cooking s'mores? The s'mores are for kids. You know, I get that. It's awfully hot. I know Gavin was doing some weather checks yesterday. I'd be curious to know what the weather was on the 6th. You know, are they starting a campfire in Florida here in the summertime just for s'mores kind of thing? You know, as far as the camping trip goes, now Cassie and the kids, they didn't stay the night. So did Cassie know about this trip ahead of time? Was it a spur of the moment? Hey, we're going camping. All right, I'll meet you there kind of thing. And then I think if anybody, I think it's a possibility that only the father knew, and like that maybe the father and son left to get together, but then there's the Mustang situation. So, you know, I kind of doubt that the father or somebody took the Mustang there and planted it. That's heavy stuff right there as far as incrimination, you know. But the real quick, the you know, it's I just feel like maybe dad and the son left and they went up to New York because they said he was nomadic and he had lived, Chris Laundrie had lived all around New York, and that is up near Canada kind of thing. I just think it's possible that he could have dropped Brian off up there somewhere to hike, or, you know, they might know some cabins or something up there kind of thing where he could be up there and to bed down and later look at Canada or something. I know that sounds kind of outlandish, but
hey, WB, we have a special guest that's coming on and they just popped in.
Yeah.
And so I just want to honor that, and just because it was related to the Kylan Crystal thing. So
okay,
feel free to hop back on.
I'm watching you guys. Yeah, I'll call tomorrow or something maybe. And thank you so much. God bless you guys, man.
Thank you for calling in.
Yeah, thank you.
Who do you got?
Bridget, how are you? Thank you for joining the call.
Hi, you're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Hi, Bridget.
So there's a lot we wanted to talk to you about, and we appreciate that you're here. And one of the things that we've been really interested is in the situation with Kylan and Crystal. And I don't know, you probably haven't seen the channel at all or been following what we're doing, but we've been really thinking a lot about that case along with Gabby and Brian in that situation as well. Can you give us just a rundown of your relationship with Kylan and Crystal and how you ended up on the call with us today and what some of your thoughts are?
Sure, absolutely. So I am Kylan's aunt, and her dad is my brother. So she was my first niece and my baby girl. So she's very close to her in my life. And I had originally ran a group for Kylan and Crystal when they were missing on Facebook. That group converted to a Justice for Kylan and Crystal page. I have now converted it to a Remembering Kylan and Crystal page. And when we obtained a PI, Jason Jensen, when he joined the case, we started a public page, Who Killed Kylan Schulte and Crystal Turner. And Avery from your show, I guess, reached out to the page a couple minutes ago and said you guys were live and asked if Sean Paul could hop on. So I called my brother. He is in bed for the night already, and I said I'll take it. So I've been doing a lot of the media interviews, and I've managed the timeline for the case and trying to keep all of the facts straight and supporting my brother through all of this. So here I am.
If you have a document of that timeline, if you can send it on email to me, that would be amazing. I'd love to see it because I built sort of a timeline of my own and I just love to look at yours and see how they're connected. But when you're thinking about this, and I'm so sorry what you've had to deal with. I mean, it's been so heartbreaking for me to just see and hear. I'm so sorry that you've had to go through that.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And Bridget, let me give you some background on how I came to dig into this case really hard. So I started out with Gabby, and then there was a lot of questions that came up about Kylan and Crystal. And I said, oh, there's no way that can't happen. But then as I started going through the Dirt app that Gabby and Brian were using, it was starting to come up to really close to where they were looking at Warner. Are you still there, Bridget?
Yes, I am. Sorry, I just muted out of habit if I wasn't talking.
Okay. Yeah. So no, anyway, so it started to really bother me that there hadn't been any murders out here in Moab for so long. And so as I started to get into it, I went back and watched the long video. And then Brian said, yeah, we spent the whole day on the 12th at the Moonflower. And I know that that's the day that Kylan worked. So I know she got off a half an hour early or whatever, but that would have been, I just can't see Gabby and Kylan not connecting in some way, shape, or form, spending 6 hours that close to each other on the 12th. I just can't imagine. They had the same interest in van life. They had the same interest in marijuana or whatever. And I have to think that they would have talked about the campsites, Warner Lake, and all the different places they could have gone. Just even if it was casual, they would have talked. So when you see that argument that happens between Gabby and Brian on the 12th, and they're driving back up to the Delicate Arch or Go Get Water, Brian doesn't know who turned him in. And I think he was thinking the whole time that it was Kylan. And so he's sitting at the Bowen Motel when he gets back, and he's looking straight across from the Bowen Motel, and he's looking dead at the Moonflower and just furious. And also feeling like a very little man because his girlfriend, who's 100 pounds, is the one that's the assailant. He's the victim.
Right.
And so he's super, super mad. And so
Sure. Yeah.
Cindy Sue's,
Sorry, go ahead.
So Cindy Sue's description of when she found the bodies on the 18th was critical in being able to connect it all together. That rabbit that was in the cage for a very long time to be dirty, that's what made me push the time that they were killed way back. I know the police went out and looked for them and they didn't find them, but Cindy Sue went out in 5 hours. She found them, but the police looked for the entire day and couldn't find them. Just horse whatever.
Yeah. So, and it's, and you'll hear it in some of my interviews if you come across any of them. And I talk about how the police was an attempt to locate because they wouldn't take it as an official missing person report, which is an issue and a concern in today's day and age as it stands. We had every reason to believe that they were missing because of circumstances, because the Econoline van being in town was fine. They keep it parked there, but the Harley being left for an extended period of time was completely abnormal behavior. They would not do that. So we knew there was something wrong. So, and that's why my brother's pleas were beyond, please Moab, please someone find my girls. I need someone to go find my girls. And knowing that it was more than just than what the police were going to do with an attempt to locate.
Bridget, have they released anything with respect to the autopsies or cause of death or any of that
No,
stuff?
Cause of death we know is from gunshot. So, and we learned that from when the report was released in the media.
Oh my.
That, yes. And someone from the investigation had just met with my brother, and about a half an hour later we start getting pinged that this police report, the media had just picked it up, and it included the gunshots to chest, back, side, and that they were partially unclothed, and that one of them had their bra was above their chest. That is how we got that information, was from the report being released in media, and that is as much as we know. We do not know what size of gun, we do not know caliber, we do not know if they have DNA from it, we do not know, but cause of death, gunshot.
That's what I was about to ask, if you knew anything about any kind of ballistics report.
Nope.
Well,
none.
Cindy Sue, when she described the police officer after he had found Crystal's body, she was very descriptive, and that's what I was looking at. If you go back and you look at Brian's Instagram and his Pinterest, you see some horrible things, obviously guns and other things, but that officer, when he came out, his top lip was quivering and he could not speak to Sue, and it wasn't because he didn't want to, he just couldn't.
Right.
So do you know that officer involved? Was that typical of his behavior, or was it something?
Oh, I don't. I have never even been to Moab. I live in Maryland.
Because
I'm originally from Montana.
So part of the connection where I see that officer wouldn't have been able to talk is some of the horrible things that I see in Brian's Instagram, his Pinterest, and the really terrible things. So that's why I think that's connected.
Right, like his expressions and his interest in that type of crime.
He has a lot of pictures of ribs being exposed and gore and really ugly things that I imagine a cop that was really big like he was, that was unable to talk to Sue, that's the same type of staging that I think you would see. And Sue also said that Kylan's arms were in a bent, weird shape. And Brian has this crazy affiliation with this Zoidberg thing with bent arms. It's ridiculous. So I know. So it just seems way too many coincidences here. And I spelled it out on my timeline on Twitch, and I did talk to Jason Jensen, and he's going to go through my timeline. It's 3.5 hours. So.
Okay, great.
Bridget, what are some things that you just want to say that I just want to hear you talk? I just want to let you talk about whatever you want to talk about and allow us just to listen.
Sure. I tell you right now, anytime we have a chance for public to listen, on the Who Killed Kylan Schulte and Crystal Turner public page on Facebook. If you go on that page, there is a video of Jason driving to the scene after the fact. We need anyone that may have been in the Moab area from August 12th to August 18th, so a day or two before they were missing to the day they were found, that may have any video footage. It might be a GoPro, it might be a drone, it might be a dash cam, something that may have caught a car coming on or off. It's
Man,
FR
you'd think somebody from that wedding
4651.
party would.
Yeah, anything, but they may not know that they have it. They may not know that they need to have it. They may not have heard the story yet. I just last week had one of my best lifetime friends just heard the story for the first time, just because I don't talk to her that often anymore and she's not on social media. And I'm not going to call every single person in my life and say, hey, did you hear my niece got killed? Like, it's just not
Yeah.
something you do.
Yeah.
So, and she's somebody who's met her before, and she just heard the story, and she's in California. So there's people who don't know yet and
Oh my
might have that footage that breaks the case. So I just ask, and Moab is such a tourist destination. So if there's anybody that might have something or know someone that, you know, is into drones or hiking or rock climbing or was in Utah, and that from August 12th to August 18th, that's what's going to break the case is some seeing a car, seeing somebody, something. I just feel like that's what we
Bridget,
need.
Bridget,
So
didn't
that's
they
a
have
big ask right now.
Bridget, didn't they have the group from the Whispering Oaks put together a list of everybody that was towards the front?
They have the entire wedding list.
And have they gone through
The
and checked the
authorities
third
have
group?
had access to that. No idea.
That
We
must
have
suck.
asked
Like,
that
don't know what
everybody,
they're doing.
yeah.
It's a
Oh, thanks
shame.
for pulling that up. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, you know, we on the justice page, which, you know, like I said, we've now converted it to a remembering page. We have over 11,000 people following that, and we want people to respect the wedding, not be bombarding these people. The wedding page has their personal information on it. We don't want just everyone attacking them. And the authorities have had the information. Hopefully they're doing their due diligence. But even if just the wedding party knows, God forbid it's someone from the wedding party that did this, but
No.
just that they know, because, you know, they're probably visiting, they're probably taking footage. They might have a picture that has something in the background, and they don't even realize that they have something that
It
could
was
break the case.
because it was so close. Did they give Avery sent a super chat and was just wondering, did they give any description of the creepy guy other than it was a creepy guy?
No. And you know, it's and I've said it before. I'm like, if it was me talking to my friends and I'm like, oh, I saw this guy, it totally creeped me out. It's just not in nature to say what was the description, or to even remember a description, or to say, I saw this creepy guy, he was wearing, you know, a black shirt, jeans, blah blah blah. Like, it's it was more in passing kind of conversation. There's this guy creeping us out. We're probably gonna have to move. Let's chill, hang out, have fun, kind of, you know.
I heard Sean Paul. I've watched all the interviews of his that I could find, and I'm just really intrigued, and just trying to find ways I can pray for you and pray for him, and just, you know, I just believe justice is coming, and I don't know what that looks like, but I believe the best for you, and I'm praying for you, Bridget. I know Sean in one of the interviews felt like there was no connection to Brian Laundrie. Now the private investigators came out and said, well, maybe there's a connection. Has Sean changed his mind on that, or?
I don't think so. I think it's more that, you know, he did. I mean, God bless him. He did his own clue booth in Moab.
My heart
to
broke
say,
for him that he went and did that every day. I just feel
Every
like this
day.
connection to him because I don't know what it is. Just like here's a dad just out there every day hoping random people will show up so that he can get
Yeah.
some insight. Like and then what happened to his son a few years ago? It's like I work as a pastor and I just really believe that, you know, God has a greater purpose. I know that's hard to hear, but I know that he's the God who
Oh,
makes
it's we're
good
a
things out of
faithful
bad
family.
things.
So, gosh, if we weren't, I don't know how we'd get through any of this.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're yeah. So I think because of that and doing his clue booth, and that a lot of it seemed like very valuable clues, that that's probably why he can just weigh Brian as might be a suspect, might not be, because he got information about so many other potential suspects, that he's given that information to the local authorities. So I think that that's a big difference in his opinion, is he sat in that park in Moab
Wow.
every day hearing different stories from locals with different information. It's just, you know, Brian as a possible suspect obviously has a much larger microscope on it.
Wow.
Well, I've tried to work the timeline as hard as I can, and I don't come up with any other situation except Brian. I obviously was focused on him and their travels and their connection to Warner Campground, all the sites over there, the Moonflower. It seems to all fit to me. Could be wrong, but I think it's very, very well done.
Yeah, yeah, it's you know, I hope we have an answer someday. I fear my niece becoming a cold case. That's probably one of my biggest fears, is how do you move on from a and become a cold case? To
We're
just
going
have
to work
answers,
hard
and I
with you
know.
to make sure that that doesn't happen.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Would it be okay if I prayed with you right now?
Absolutely.
So, Father, I just thank you for Bridget. I thank you for Sean Paul. And I just pray your word declares you're close to the brokenhearted. I just pray they sense your nearness, they sense your closeness. And I pray for divine wisdom, supernatural favor from God, just to flow into their hearts, flow into their minds, ultimately that there can be justice brought to this situation where there are no answers. Lord, I just ask that you would provide answers. And Lord, I pray for supernatural peace, supernatural strength that surpasses all understanding. In Jesus' name, amen. Bridget, please keep in touch with
Amen.
us. I wanna keep in touch with you, and just whatever I can do to help. And we got a little bit of an audience that's building here, and all of us are interested in how we can help you guys too. So please, please, please keep in touch.
And Bridget, I just
Thank you.
posted you
Yeah,
there.
I
I
appreciate it.
posted my Discord there and stuff. So if you ever want to chat, come on in.
Okay. And I'm looking for whatever email addresses to send you my timeline.
It's just press@tylerfeller.com. It's on the screen there in the top left corner.
Okay, cool. All right.
That was great. I was glad that
That's
she was
awesome.
on the call.
Man, if we could get that list at the Whispering Oaks, we could kill this really quickly. If they have any media.
Was she saying they had the list or the police had the list?
But at least there is a list. I think they can get to it, so that's good.
It's wonderful.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
It's a good
that's so
question
awful.
that Peter asked that I didn't see, that said, what theories did the family have?
Well, Sean Paul was sitting in Swanee Park in the middle of town every day for a month or more, and just getting any tips or any clues and reporting them to the police. And he came up with thousands or hundreds, a lot.
Jen B says the police have a list. I think the police have a list, but I don't know if they would give that to us. But if Sean Paul has a list, or the private investigator has a list, maybe they'd get that to
Yeah,
us.
I think if we can work through the PI and get people to go back and check a certain time period rather than go through the whole 5 or 6 days, right?
Wow.
Well, that's good.
I
think
just
we're
felt like I
finally
was
gonna.
I just felt like I was supposed to pray for her too.
Yeah, no, I think and like she said, she wants to find the answer, and you know what? If no one else can come up with a probable answer, mine's literally the only one that works.
Karen, how are you?
Is that me?
Yes.
I made it, and it's not echoing.
Good.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. My heart just went out to Bridget. I've been so sad for all the girls. I don't think Brian's as smart as everyone thinks he is. I think he goofed up a lot, and then someone took him under their wing and scurried him off somewhere, because I don't believe I was married to a covert narcissist for 15 years, and I know how they brag about what they can do when they really can't. Even watching him walk across the rocks that time, it was really not, he was like tiptoeing across. He wasn't doing a manly kind of thing. So I think he's exaggerated his skills, and I hope we find him. I am so impressed with Gabby's family, and they're starting the GoFund page for missing people. They're taking a bad thing and using it for good.
Yep.
And I think that's wonderful.
Me too.
I just do. And I praise God for your channel. I listened to it. I didn't try to call in again until I could figure this out, because I'm 71, okay? But
well, thank you for working hard
channel.
to be a part of it.
Oh, yes. And I am part of the Feller fam.
Yay.
So I'm all Feller fam merch. Yeah, get us some. But thank you guys for the work you do, Gavis, Con, and Tyler. I am very impressed. Having had that marriage I had, I never married again. Mm-hmm. And yes, I built walls up, but they protect me. So I don't need all that. I got 3 beautiful children.
The Bible says to
7
guard your heart
grandkids,
above all else.
Says what?
The Bible says to guard your heart above all else.
Oh, definitely. I'm doing great. I have God. I have Jesus. And I have my grandkids and my kids. So, my life is full. I still teach. And I actually teach physics, which is almost rocket science. But not quite.
It is to me.
But y'all keep up good.
Physics is rocket science to me.
Do you let your students use
it's
calculators?
It's kind of interesting, because I work for a group called Classical Conversations, which is a Christian homeschooling group. And I work with the moms when the kids get up to algebra, trigonometry, and now physics, because they haven't had that, and it's been a couple years since I had it, but I'm going ahead. But anyway, that I talk too much. It's a great thing you're doing, and I am so pleased I found you, and God bless you and keep you safe.
Thank you, Karen. We're happy that you found us too, and I love whenever we have, don't you, Gavis? She's the first person to say your full name.
Yeah, caught me off guard.
I love
but
it.
She
when
did say Gavis and not Gavin, so I kind of appreciated that.
She said Gavis Con. She said it all. Robert says, "What about the madman that escaped from the mental hospital? He was pretty creepy. I couldn't get that to work out."
Yeah, it doesn't work.
I like the way you're thinking, Robert. You're like, well, what if it's not Brian? Who could it be? Could be 100 people that was at the wedding, first off, in my mind. Could be somebody who was stalking them for a couple days. Could be Brian.
Or Brian could have been the creepy guy too. And they moved and Brian found him.
Joy says, I'm new to this channel, but I love you guys, especially when I heard the prayer. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you to Avery for getting her in here. You know what? I think that is amazing, and we're gonna get to some answers, and hopefully Sean Paul can finally put this thing to rest. because that's my only motivation. I'm not here for any money whatsoever, you guys. I'm here to get this thing done.
And we're making strides. Bridget calling in tonight. It's a big deal. I'm going to clip that and just set that aside, that part. Like just repost probably just that part. Goof Magoo, thank you for the super sticker. Blowing kisses. Thank you.
Yeah, no, definitely. Thank you so much for setting that up, Avery. That was awesome.
Now I want the Laundrie family to call in. I want to pray with them. I want to counsel them for just a minute. Probably not in front of 5,000 people or how many ever watch this, but you know, privately, I'd love to have a conversation with them. And the Petito Schmidt family, but the Petito Schmidt family have a lot of really good people around them right now.
And the support they got from Dr. Phil, I think that counseling at that crucial time was critical, right? Having them
Bridget
all.
just sent. Should I put it up on the screen?
She sent you what?
Bridget sent me her timeline. Should I put it on the screen?
Sure.
Avery says, I'll work on getting others. Feel free to use me. I'll reach out to anyone. I'm persistent. Thank you, Avery. And thank you for the super chat.
I get that impression from Avery.
It's good to have persistent people.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can feel that from you. Let me just take a gander at this. Yeah, I'm going to put it up. Stop screen. These people in the room above me have been so noisy. It's driving me crazy. It's like they're dropping bricks on top of my head every 10 seconds.
Those aren't bricks.
I called the front desk. Like, hey, it's like there sounds like something's crazy going on the room above me. Kylan's brother got shot. That's so sad. 2015. 2016, Kylan moved to Moab. 2017, she started working at the Moonflower. 2019, Kylan and Crystal go from friends to girlfriends. 2020, Kylan and Crystal finished their latest van life conversion. This was their home of choice in Moab. Why house when you can van life?
Okay, that 7:30 to 2 p.m. is very important.
Kylan's last shift at the Moonflower was 7:30 a.m. to 2 p.m. Okay, that's a day different than what I thought it was, just so you know. Kylan and Crystal thought to be tent camping in the LaSalle Mountains instead of staying in their van. Last seen, Kylan and Crystal were with friends at Woody's Tavern in Moab. This is the last time anyone saw or spoke to them. During this visit, they told their friends someone was creeping them out and they needed to move sites. August 15th, Crystal no call, no shows for work at McDonald's. August 16th, Crystal no calls, no shows for work at McDonald's. Kylan no call for the Moonflower. Local police are called to report the girls missing. August 17th, Kylan is a no call, no show for work at the Moonflower. On the 17th, Kylan's dad pushes local police for missing person. They do an attempt to locate, which that's so, I mean, this is heartbreaking to read. The issue here is the girls' Econoline van and Harley were parked in town. Wasn't the van, like, wasn't one of their vehicles at McDonald's? If they willingly left, they would not just leave the Harley for an extended period of time. It would be storage for them.
They had 3 vehicles. So
they had a
the Harley,
Kia.
right? The Harley and the van were parked across the street, and they were driving around in the Sorrento.
Kylan's aunt starts, which that's who we just talked to, finding Kylan and Crystal. Kylan's dad, Sean Paul, begs Moab to help find his girls. We know that it's not just an ATL, but they're missing. August 17, 18, he posted everywhere on Facebook asking for people to help him find them.
Yeah. So Brian's got stopped on the 12th. He gets put up for the night at the Bowen Motel. He goes back to try to find this girl in the morning because they're supposed to stay apart, Gabby and Brian. So the night of the 13th, they get back to the campsite where the bodies are found at about 1 o'clock or 12 o'clock that night. And that's where I think Brian was able to find them again or trailed them on the way back out to the campsite. And he might not have even gone close down to where they were. He might have just hung back and then got in there and got them. So The night of the 13th or the morning of the 14th is when they were.
Sherlock Holmes says, Tyler and Gavish, your hard work and dedication are doing a lot towards getting justice for Gabby and helping all of us. Thank you and God bless you. Thank you, Sherlock Holmes, for the support and for the super chat. We're trying over here. We're trying. Cindy Sue confirms with the family the girl is most likely driving. She packs up supplies filled with gas as long as needed. Cindy Sue locates the Kia and unfortunately a body. On the 18th, she sees the vehicle, calls Sean Paul. She approaches the site, sees a body. He tells her to get in the car, lock the doors, and call the police. She did. Upon the authorities' arrival, the second body was found. Both were confirmed. Ruth the bunny found unharmed at the scene and happily rehomed. On the 19th, Facebook group is updated to Justice for Kylan and Crystal. On the 19th, the cause of death, the Grand County Sheriff provides a press release that says the cause of death was gunshot wounds. On the 22nd, a candlelight visual is held. On the 24th, Grand County Sheriff goes live on Facebook and issues a statement sharing a commitment to the case and reiterating public safety. And while there is no suspect, the sheriff has continued to say there is no danger to the public. On the 25th, bodies are released from the crime lab for transport to their home states for services. The process seemed and long, no details shared, no progress on a suspect, and unable to plan services while awaiting the release of the body. It's not known by the family if DNA from the suspect was collected. That has to be the hard part. We don't know, Gavis, what they got because they haven't released any of that information. On the 31st, Grand County Sheriff announces. Grand County announces an anonymous local business contractor offers a $10,000 reward for a person providing pertinent information to assist in the arrest and conviction of a double homicide. On the 31st, Kylan is laid to rest in Montana with her brother, Mackian, and her daughter, Blake.
I honestly don't think that you could ever find Brian unless you knew the inside of his mind and how it worked. So it's critical to understand what happened to those two bodies at that scene. And if that main police officer came out of that after finding Crystal and couldn't even talk, I think it was something really horrible. And that's why he couldn't talk. So that's why I connect it to Brian. And that's the only logical thing that goes on.
I know, but it's not 100%. So I'm not saying that until if there was gunshot wounds for Gabby, it's another thing. I didn't realize that Kylan had a daughter that had passed away. I'm learning that right now.
I know. Horrible, right? Tragedy
Did you know
everywhere. Yeah. So let's hypothesize. Go back to the Instagram. Go back to the Pinterest.
Let me finish this timeline. September 1st, Crystal's laid to rest in Arkansas by her family's wishes. September 2nd, the Grand County Sheriff announces a second $10,000 reward from Sacred Earth One, now making a $20,000 reward for information leading to an arrest and a conviction in the double homicide. On the 4th, Sean Paul, Kylan's dad, arrives in Moab to start looking for clues himself. The family still does not have answers. On the 8th, the press releases start to include a search warrant obtained in the search for the Econoline van. The warrant included how the bodies were found, and this is how the family finds out the actual details. In a nearby creek, 2 female bodies were found. The bodies were identified as belonging to Crystal Turner and Kylan Schulte. Both women were undressed from the waist down. One of the females had on a bra that was raised to expose, while the second female was dressed in only a tank top. Investigators located multiple gunshot wounds. The wounds were located on the back, sides, and chest of the victims. It should be noted that these 2 females were reported missing on the 16th. On the 11th, Gabby Petito is reported missing, and the internet finds coincidences between the cases. On the 16th, Grand County Sheriff issues a press release saying they're exploring the connection between Gabby and Kylan and Crystal. On the 17th, Moab holds a memorial for Kylan and Crystal. Again, on the 17th, the Grand County issues a statement saying that there is no explanation, but at the time, missing person in a double homicide is not technically related. However, could develop later as details are revealed. On the 24th of September, Kylan's dad continues to work clues and offer a way to report information. We do not have answers. We don't know if there's DNA. We don't know if there's any suspects. The photo shows the clue booth that Sean Paul has been working almost every day in September. Kylan's own dad is on the boots in the ground. So there's the clue booth. Man, it's heartbreaking. Spread our message. Find justice. Justice for Crystal. Justice for Kyla and Crystal.
That's where I got the phrase "boots on the ground."
Wow.
All right. So the point I was going to bring up was how many references did Brian make to the Joker, and how many references did Gabby make to Harley Quinn?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that might explain the gunshots.
Oh.
Sorry to say that, but
okay. My goodness.
Right. As much as I tried to not put her there on the 14th, I think we have to put her there.
People get mad about that, so.
I know, but
I got like a bunch of emails about that. So, guys, just because Gava says something doesn't mean that it's a fact.
Yeah,
and it doesn't mean that the majority of America or even myself agrees. But it's okay. We want him saying what. It's better to have him say what he thinks than not say what he thinks. So, just putting that out there. Right, Gavis? You agree with everything I just said?
Yeah, no, you can come talk to me about it and I can go through it. I can show you the pictures. I can show you the Instagrams of everything. It's a good thing I saved it because I'm hearing that they took off Brian is deleting some of his stuff out of Pinterest.
Oh, that's interesting. And this is what happens though. Sometimes it's like those people could be like when you pin something, it's something somebody else made. And if people find out their stuff's been pinned by Brian, they could delete it and it would show up as if Brian was deleting it.
Yeah,
Artemis says, don't forget the book reference in Lullaby, the girl with dreads and her blonde lover. In the book, it's a male, but still.
Too many coincidences here, guys. 3 girls go get killed with less than 2 weeks. I don't know how you don't draw a conclusion to this.
In a town of 5,000, you know.
Right. And when there hasn't been a murder in this area in 15 years, it's ridiculous. Like the incompetence by the police in some situations can be really bad.
I'm just.
And my heart goes out to Sean because I did see that.
I'm glad she called in.
I did see that video. Well, exactly, and I hope that hopefully they can start to see this, right? I'm over on Twitch and I have Discord. If I don't know how to link it to you, maybe someone in chat can link you my Discord, but you can come in there and we can argue, we can work it out. I'll prove my point and you'll come around to my way of thinking. So it's fine. I'm okay with it. I've been
Even
at this.
if you don't come around to his way of thinking, like it's okay to hear somebody else out.
Then I can just ban you and kick you out of my channel. But everyone's come around. I haven't had to kick anybody.
You've kicked one person I know of.
Yeah, but she deserved it. We had to keep her up to date on everything, and it was just annoying.
Imcon Black, listen, hypothesizing provides us with the ability to disprove or prove a point. There are no coincidences. Thank you, Imcon. Like at this point, when we're predicting what could have happened in the future, that's all it is. Now, Gavis speaks as if like what he's saying is from an authoritative standpoint at times when it's not really. No offense, Gavis, but in your mind it is. So I understand that.
I've had to go inside Brian's mind and come out the other side. And so if you want to go put in that effort and do it, go for it. It's about probably 125 feet from the Bowen to the Moonflower. I could probably hit a 60-degree lob wedge that far.
Avery says, how far is Brian's hotel from the Moonflower? And you just answered that question.
Yeah.
For the people who are, I want to say the chats too sometimes. Raylan, thank you for the super sticker. Margie K, please check out the lyrics of Stand by Eminem. Not sure if it's related. Thank you, Margie. I rapped the whole song last time, minus the curse words. You missed it. It wasn't that pretty. Didn't sound that great, but I went through it. It was on 2 streams ago at the very end of it. And then when I was done with that, I was like, I got to get off here. Gavis is hard-headed, but if you have evidence, eventually he comes around.
This is when we were debating. No, she's one of my moderators in my Discord, and so I was trying to put Rose in Salt Lake City because of the guy that was up at Bullwinkle, because he said he saw Brian at 11:30 on the 26th, and so I was trying to figure out how to get them there, and then I realized, okay, I can't because Rose wasn't ever in Salt Lake City. And so we figured out the guy that was at Bullwinkle was just a complete fraud, and I don't know why he would try to get TikTok views or whatever. Just, horrible.
Gavis thinks he's been right a few times. Sorry, he's wrong about Gabby being involved. I won't listen to that. What will happen if when you're done, you're wrong? Then you'll apologize.
I'll eat crow and I'll apologize. Absolutely. I'm not doing this for clickbait or anything like that. It's just the only thing that makes logical sense to me.
Heather, thank you for calling in. How are you?
Hey, g'day again, guys.
Is
Calling
it-
from Brisbane, Australia.
all the way from I'm in Missouri right now of the United States. Thank you for calling in.
I just had a really quick thought. When you guys were talking about why he went back to Florida, and then I heard you talking about Crystal and Kylan and Gabby and Brian being marijuana smokers, is it possible they had a medical marijuana card in Florida and he went home to stock back up?
You can't travel with it on airfare in the United States. It's illegal, and they have dogs that sniff it. And even if it's legal in your state, it's illegal federally, and so
Right.
they'll arrest you. They have to arrest you if they find it on you.
Okay, because in Australia, if it's in original, prescription containers, like it's legal to carry on an air flight. But it was just a quick thought anyway.
Yeah, that's
Have
a
a
good
great
way
day,
to think
guys.
about that. Thank you for calling in, Heather.
Okay, no worries. Bye.
Bye. JXO says, I wonder if any of them had any altercation at the wedding, or possibly anyone from either of the past could have gone there with a grudge. Very possible. Somebody sent me an email right now of the wedding event, the website from the wedding. I'm going to send that to you, Gavis.
Okay.
So you guys can, whatever you do with it.
Perfect.
There,
You could just put
this
it in
website
Discord too.
I asked you for the link, and then I have been too busy to figure out how to work it. So I haven't even clicked on the link. I just wanted it for whenever I had time to get on it. Avery says Gavis's timeline is starting to hit me.
That's what we're here
What
to
you
do.
said, just give it some time, right?
Yeah.
Hit people? I don't think so.
You literally can't come to any other conclusion. I mean, and then that could explain why Brian went back on the 17th. He was trying to hide. He said, Mommy, I just killed 2 people. Help, help, help. That's why the lawyer is so prepared by the time they come back, right? By the time they show up on the 1st or 2nd, the police want to talk to Brian. They hand him a letter. No lawyer works that quick. I'm sorry. They just don't. So.
Ezio says, could we ask Father to guide them to Brian? So, Lord, we just right now ask wisdom, guide Dog the Bounty Hunter, give him words from heaven, guide law enforcement, help us find Brian in Jesus' name. Amen.
Krusty the Clown is his holy Zoidberg trinity.
Peggy Foss says, Gavis, please explain Krusty the Clown and the Harley Quinn book. So the Krusty the Clown was based on this other book that Brian read that uses a Trinity or a 3-part reference. And then he took Krusty the Clown, who's from The Simpsons, and designed artwork that was a Trinity artwork around it as well. That was kind of morbid.
Well, then if you go 2 slides to the right on that, it turns it into his Zoidberg, which is a cartoon character. So he turns Krusty the Clown into his Zoidberg, and he goes, any ideas for my holy Zoidberg trinity? And that's where it gets weird. That's how deep you have to look into this kid's brain to figure out what's going on in it, because it's not Krusty the Clown, it's the Zoidberg, and he wants something that fits his 3.
Stop the Gavis hate. He admits that he's polarizing. Gavis, please don't stop being straightforward with your theories. Heart emoji. Your timeline is spot on.
Thank you.
Listen, if you guys understood the intent of my heart and Gavis's heart. For those of you that get upset at me at times, and those of you that get upset at Gavis sometimes, you wouldn't be upset with us at all. Because sometimes, especially when you're streaming at the sheer number of minutes that we do, sometimes you say things that you don't mean, and the internet glitches and things come out the wrong way. When you say Gavis, like a lot of times we're like, that hit wrong. It's not what we mean. The intent of our heart has always been pure. It's funny in one way, but it's upsetting in another.
Just to see the pain that these parents went through, plus, Sean Paul sitting at Swanee Park every single day. Like, just imagine the pain that these parents are going through and having no idea where to look. And then, I don't know, just like with Gav, I had to go back and I had to make sure, was there a chance? Like, I had to go through all the dirt apps. I had to go through everything. There's so much in here to try to roll into one. You have to keep a lot of things in the air to figure it out. Otherwise, you'll never get there.
Very interesting.
And yeah, apparently now some of the stuff is coming off of Brian's Pinterest and that could be direction by the lawyer again.
Carly, is your mic working?
I'm hoping so. Is it working? Can you hear
Sounds
me?
a lot better. Yeah.
Oh, that's good. I had to figure a couple things out. Plus, I'm finally off work, so
good.
Before I say anything, like, Gavis, I remember when you didn't see the connection between Brian and the Moab couple, and I was with you 100% on that. And then you changed your mind and put out like why you thought that, and then I was still with you again.
Thank you.
You seem really like cold sometimes when you say things, but I know you mean well.
Mine and Gavis's first on-air fight was about Kylan and Crystal and Gabby.
I remember I was watching for that. I've been watching you since like your second video on this, so I've been in it from pretty much the beginning.
It's only been like 2.5 weeks, but doesn't it feel like
it feels like it feels like so long.
Like me and Gavis are like we were like best friends since childhood, and we've only known each other for like 2.5 weeks.
Yeah, no, that's what it seems like too.
I got to Tyler because I was so upset I couldn't talk to anybody because I figured out the timeline with Gabby and no one was listening to me. I tried Ickidmail, I tried a bunch of people, they wouldn't let me on, and Tyler let me on. So I was like, here it is, sorry, but this is the facts.
Yeah. And I remember that too. And I was 100%. I was like, there's no connection. But
you'll notice I haven't said anything's 100%, except the one thing about Rose Davis. Her heart is 100%.
Oh man.
Who says there's a man who ran away from a mental institution? He was SO offender. He is possible suspect. They arrested him. I believe it's Brian.
John Freeman.
Thank you, Huda, for that.
Different dude.
Yeah.
Too far away.
Yeah, it didn't make sense to me until I really looked at the timeline and I was like, oh man. Well, I was wrong. All right.
That's usually what happens. So when people, like, I've run the timeline a few times now, and by the end of it, I say, is there any more questions? And there's not literally one question. Nobody, they're like, holy, wow.
I really like to do my research on that too. So that's the only reason I even came to that conclusion also. But anyway, so I found this post on a Facebook group I'm in. It was like Justice for Gabby Petito. And somebody was like, this sounds crazy, but what if they know where Brian is at? And he's a person of interest in this case. He's not like...
Who's they?
Like the FBI, the police. They know where he is.
It does sound crazy, because I don't
think
think
it does sound crazy. But like at the same time, what if they're just trying to build more evidence against him before they actually detain him?
I think that's why they did the warrant for the access device, because they can detain him and build evidence, and they can do it rather quickly. So and plus they're spending $200,000 a day, and the governor had to issue it.
That was the thing where I was like, that's a lot of money. We don't really have that kind of money.
Yeah, so it's a theory, but
crazy. It is a theory. I am still pretty convinced that Gabby didn't know that he had anything to do with the Moab couple, Crystal and Kylan, until the day he killed her. That I'm pretty solid on that. It makes the most sense to me. Like, why else would he kill Gabby unless like she threatened to go to the police about it?
Yeah,
I
that's
don't
the other
know.
thing too, is why does she sit in Salt Lake with these two murders high profile all over the news channels, and she's sitting to wait for a guy that she suspects might have done it?
Mm. Mm.
Right?
I remember hearing about Crystal and Kylan, like when they put out the missing persons report. I saw things on Facebook. I'm an avid like true crime follower, so these things just pop up in my feed a lot. And so I remember when that happened, and then I remember hearing about Gabby, and the timelines didn't even click to me. Like, it didn't even like there was nothing. Even after the police footage came out, I didn't make that connection at all. But I really don't think Gabby knew until the day he killed her.
Right. And then that's why I think she's the one that sends the text Stan. So all these people
Yeah.
chasing Stan Anderson and all that, I just whatever.
I
Go
think that
ahead.
was a misspelling. I think she meant to say Brian.
She's fumbling around in the dark. Could have been anything. Could have been sand. Could have been sand. Could have been any form of whatever. Autocorrected.
Yeah, I think it was like a cry for help, and it was a misspelling. That was
Yeah.
another theory I read that made sense to me too.
Put yourself in her shoes. You're all the way across that water, middle of the night, and you've got to try to find a way to get out of that situation. I don't know what I would do.
Thank you, Carly, for calling in tonight.
Yep. Have a good one, guys.
You too. Sheila, thank you for joining the Feller fam. You also sent a super chat or a super sticker. I don't see a sticker, so I think it was a super chat. Thank you so much for that. Appreciate the love. Appreciate the love from so many of you guys today. It means a whole lot. We're only going to do one more call, and it's a special call to Gavis's heart. You ready, Gavis?
Oh my God. My girl. I love this girl.
We're only going to do one more call, and it's a special call. She's always on a delay.
I'm going to buy her a laptop and just send it to her.
Oh my God. I love this girl.
Hi. No, my new iPad's going to come in about 2 weeks.
Well, no, let's get you something that you can actually do stuff on. We're going to get you a laptop.
Oh, okay. Well, I ordered an iPad because I figured I needed something to get going. But a couple of things.
I use
Number
it.
one,
I use an iPad. It works fine.
Okay. Have either of you looked at Doug Live?
Yes. You talked about it
Okay, I
earlier
just
today.
found that shack that he. Yeah, that shack that he found very interesting, and I'm hoping he goes back there tonight. But let me nag and reiterate again why I am so much on your train, Gavis, because to me, the facts that kind of sewed it up were if you watch that second body cam, the policeman tells Brian that he got a call from the Moonflower. He did not say from a man, so in Brian's mind, he probably felt that Kylan was the one that ratted on him, and he
You
got
are
very
so
angry.
good. I
The
didn't
other
even pick that
thing
up.
is well, the other thing is that the motel they put him up in the night that either they died or early the next morning was 1 block away from the Moonflower.
Yeah.
And so to me, it just, until you can prove otherwise, I truly believe that he did it. And I think then he ran home. I doubt that he told his parents about that, But I have a feeling Gabby heard the news and might have put 2 and 2 together because he was so angry about that. And that ended up being her demise.
Yeah. Do you know what's even worse? If you go back and you watch the first video,
What?
Amanda, if you go back and you watch the first video, the one with Daniel, the police officer, when Gabby's ready to get the car keys,
Yeah.
and Gabby asks him, how far is it? How far do I have to drive? And he's like, well, it's about from here to the Moonflower. So she knows the exact hotel that he's going to be staying at. And then it gets worse. Then she tells the officer goes to her and tells her to go take a $5 shower and relax. And then what does the officer do? He gets in the police cruiser and he tells Brian, I told her to go get a $5 shower and relax. And Gabby said, I just had a $5 shower yesterday. So they both know exactly where the other one is that night.
You're right. Yes. Yes. I think those 2 body cams and like everybody else, I wish they'd come out with the police woman's body cam, but
Yeah,
for some reason they're not doing that.
I don't think they will.
We really need to see that one and see what Gabby did when she got her phone. Who did she call? Who did she text? What did she do? Right.
I think the two of you should have a
That
phone
was the
call,
other point
so
that I was going to make.
maybe my Mantha, you can.
I think that
I don't mean now. I just mean like
I think as far as sometime
because it's hard to talk to on here because there's always a lag, and Gavis is always like wanting to have a deeper conversation with you because the way that you think is a particular way that allows him to see a new angle every time.
That's true. Hopefully, when I get my iPad, things will be a whole lot better. It is ordered.
Well,
I did want to mention one more thing about their phones. I think he disposed of their phones at some point. I don't think that the police have the phones that they had on the trip.
I don't either.
Well, I appreciate you coming over to
But
Twitch.
having
today.
heard what somebody said earlier, that they can still get the information.
Thank you, my man, for calling
I
in.
made
It's
it
just
there.
been it's hard for us to
way,
communicate with
but
you
I
with the
only
big
know how to
delay.
whisper.
Yeah, she's so cute.
Okay. Well, hopefully everything will be better when the iPad gets here. Good night, guys. Have a good night.
Good night. I think it's so awesome that I think this stream and what we're doing led her to want to invest in more technology. I think that's really cool. An iPad works fine on this, actually.
She's got a really sharp mind, and I really enjoy her conversations. I think she's really, really good.
So I was like, you guys need to talk on the phone or something.
Mm-hmm.
We've had a good conversation. I'm shocked that Kylan and Crystal's aunt called in. Like, I've been wanting that to happen since the get-go.
Yeah. I wanted that to happen weeks ago. I tried reaching out to Sean Paul. I don't even know how many times.
Now I got her information. I feel like I can, keep in touch with her, whatever. I'm just super excited. I wanted to tell people too about my book that I have coming out on November 16th. It's called Don't Stop. If you go to my website, which is just tylerfeller.com, you click Don't Stop. There's a page there. If you're interested in ordering it, hitting barrier after barrier in life can break your spirit. And when battles beat you down, your motivation you'll struggle to strive and live in the vast potential God's planned for you. If you want to live in all the potential, just go to tylerfeller.com if you're interested in doing that. You can check out some of the work that my nonprofit does too by just clicking our work. We literally do incredible stuff through God's grace literally around the world. I also want to shout out Sheila. Thank you, Sheila, for joining the Feller fam. You joined April and Sandy B and Lara and Archer and Kari or Carrie and Charlie and Carolina and Tracy and Sniper and Chrissy and Jenner and Tattooed Chick and Trace and Imcon and Cindy and Mary B and Heidi, all today in the Feller fam. And thank you for the super chat. And thank you, Aletha, for your super chat. It means a lot that you guys support the channel in that way. The internet that I've had at this hotel is not very good because I'm like at the very edge of the hotel and I don't have good signal. So I know my stream has not been very good today. How much did it cut out?
A lot.
Still, I managed to get through.
But the content was insane, right?
Yeah, I know. I could tell my mic wasn't working right, but it's okay. It's like the internet cuts out. It's what it is. It'll be back to normal. I'm not having a stream tomorrow because I'm going to be traveling. I encourage you guys.
I got Thanksgiving.
Tomorrow's Thanksgiving in Canada?
No, it was last week, but we couldn't all get together. So it's going to be tomorrow.
Okay. I encourage you guys, if you're interested, go to twitch.com, type as Gavis ConCon. Good things will pop up. It's as easy as that. Twitch.tv, type in Gavis ConCon. And that's that. Thank you guys for watching. It's a great time tonight.